Business and Culture to be conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Chamber, Guildhall and Derry. If I take the roll call. Alderman Morris Devaney.
Here, Stephen.
Alderman Ryan McCready. Alderman Drew Thompson.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Jason Barr.
Here.
Councillor Sean Carr.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Shauna Cusack.
Stephen.
Councillor Gary Donnelly.
And Shaw.
Councillor Rory Farrell. Councillor Sean Hargan.
Here.
Councillor Conor Heaney.
Shaw.
Councillor Patricia Logue. Councillor Joe McGowan.
And Shaw.
Councillor Kieran Maguire. And Councillor Lillian Sinai Barr. Thank you, members.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair. Could I just put on apologies for Ryan McCready there?
Okay, noted. I'm going to read the broadcasting statement. Everyone, I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This webcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. If you're seated in the lower public seating media areas, it is possible that the recording cameras will capture your image and result in the possibility that your image will become part of the broadcast. This may infringe your human and data protection rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should move to the upper public gallery. Don't think anybody's going to move, so we're all right. Declaration of members' interests. If anyone wants to have a look at the agenda, and if anyone has any declarations, let us know. Councillor Heaney.
I just declare an interest as a member of the board of Visit Derry.
Okay. Anyone else?
Same
Okay.
here. I'm a member of the board of there as well, Shauna.
Thanks, Shauna, for that. Move on now to item 5. We've a deputation here today. We have 2, I think. We've Odin Dunn from Visit Derry in relation to their operations, and we've also got Jim Collins. So quite happy to take you now, Odin, if you want to come on.
Chair, Michelle.
And the chair, Michelle, sorry, how could I forget Michelle?
Good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to present to you this afternoon. In my journey in tourism in the city and district, when I started in the industry, there was 3 hotels, just under 200 bedrooms. Now we proudly boast 11 hotels with 3,600 bedrooms and a further 93 bedrooms at Ebrington Hotel when it comes on board later this year. Odin Dunn, our CEO, will give a presentation now to those present and those online.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair of the Business and Culture Committee, for the opportunity to present this afternoon, and to the officers and members for listening to us this afternoon. So I'd just like to introduce Visit Derry to some councillors maybe who aren't familiar with the organisation and who are new to council. We were established as a not-for-profit public-private sector partnership. And we were established in 1996 as a destination marketing organisation to grow and service tourism to the district, with 2 key functions. One's destination marketing, promotion and branding the destination, and also visitor servicing. We're also a membership organisation. We currently have approximately 215 businesses from right across the Northwest region, the wider district, Tyrone, Donegal and Causeway, that all support our activity because they see the benefit of increasing tourism into the Northwest region of the island. Next slide, please. The Northern Ireland tourism ecosystem, we work collaboratively with quite a number of key organisations to deliver our remit. Obviously the Business and Culture Committee through tourism, marketing, product development, business engagement, visitor servicing, and working with the Alley Theatre, the VIC team in Strabane to deliver on our visitor servicing activity. Tourism Northern Ireland, within the tourism structure, then are responsible for marketing the island of Ireland, and that's Northern Ireland within the island. And then when we look internationally, Tourism Ireland are responsible for marketing the island of Ireland internationally. So their job is very important to attract visitors to the island. And from our perspective, we have to have a strong market presence to attract people to the northwest corner of the island because it's a highly competitive marketplace. Next slide, please. Sorry, and the next one. Thank you. As the chair has said, the tourism landscape has changed for Northern Ireland with political stability since 1998 from the signing of the Good Friday Agreement. And this has allowed us as a city and district to enjoy tourism growth with continued investment in our tourism accommodation, our attractions, our experiences, not to mention our hospitality sector and our growing events programme, particularly since the status of UK City of Culture in 2013, which has attracted people from all over the globe. We have no doubt the years ahead will have many positive contributions to the evolution of the city and district. I'm sure a few challenges to deal with, but the industry is really resilient and we remain positive in our outlook for the future of tourism. We're looking forward to the City Deal programme, which will act as another catalyst for across the city and district, both for the physical and socio-economic changes that it can bring about. And looking back at 1998, only about 1,000 people were involved in the tourism sector. Today, we're anything from between 5,000 and 6,000 people are involved in tourism across the city district. And tourism was worth about 17 million back in 1998, and it's worth about 72 million in 2019. Next slide, please. So where are we today? I suppose we've come out of the pandemic. 2022 was really about rebuilding, restarting our tourism recovery. And globally, the figures forecast by UN are looking at about 65% recovery in 2022. The island of Ireland is probably reporting Europe has performed really well in the recovery. Ireland is performing about 75% of pre-pandemic levels. So there's a lot of factors that have influenced this, and particularly for us as an island, it's about air and sea capacity and trying to get back to levels that we've seen pre-pandemic. Next slide, please. So as we're saying, the city or the overnight visitors are worth about 71 million to the city and district. We generated 1 million bed nights pre-COVID and generated 308,000 overnight trips. In 2022, we were looking at approximately 75% to 80% of pre-pandemic levels. The international market's been slower to return. Business events have been slower to return, and we've been working with the venues, particularly Millennium Forum, to try and reignite that sector because it's been much slower to get back to pre-pandemic levels. However, Tourism Ireland predicts that the island will not get back to pre-pandemic levels until 2025. So we're working to ensure a strong marketing presence and brand awareness, and we'll see that from Tourism Ireland's campaigns over the coming weeks, months and years ahead. We hope these timelines, we're working to the strategy of 2025 when we're looking at 1 million visitors. We're working to that. The targets of generating £100 million spend and over almost 6,000 jobs in the sector. But we're working in a backdrop of mounting challenges. But we'd be particularly confident that we will progress with our tourism growth in the years ahead. Next slide, please. So we're working through the recovery, through the National Recovery and Action Plan. And it's really about stimulating demand, getting people to come. We've seen the staycation trend work for us in 21-22. And we're hoping now that as international markets recover, 23 will deliver a strong performance tied in with our strong campaign activity and sales activity. Next slide, please. So when we look at trends, NISRA, or the official statistical agency for recording trends, and some of the data will be much slower coming through for 21-22. So at the moment, we're looking at the trends. The occupancy is one trend that we work with in tourism that gives us an idea of overnight visitors. And you can see from the graph, the performance has been pretty strong for 2022. Pre-pandemic, we were achieving about 70% occupancy levels. In 2022, we were sitting at 65% occupancy levels. So a relatively good, strong position for a recovery mode, considering the challenges that have presented. The visitor profile trends from the visitor centre are showing 80,000 inquiries. That's about 80% of where we were pre-pandemic also. So we try to capture some of the activity in a short show reel for you. So this is a few minutes and it should give you an idea of some of the work undertaken by our marketing and visitor servicing team. Slide, please.
Our industry here are doing the business the way they know best, face to face.
Win with Visit Derry. You could win a trip for two in Derry, Londonderry. The city for your perfect weekend escape.
And walls of Derry. I do love a wall, me.
Aye, you cannot beat a good wall.
Totally.
Derry Girls, sponsored by Ireland.com.
Derry comes alive at Halloween with a whole host of incredible events, parades and activations all around the walled city. Derry has also been named the best Halloween destination in the world.
So I've been to Derry loads of times, but I've never really associated it as a place where you can come and do loads of cool adventure activities. I mean, I've been told, even though I'm afraid of heights, we're going to be doing some zip lining now in a second with Richard.
Last week up I drove to the hills of the Sperrin Mountains to Craigban Goat Farm, a beautiful, beautiful landscape.
So this weekend, me and the family have been invited up to Derry, the hometown, to show you what is so good about Derry and what it has to offer a family.
Well, we're delighted that Visit Derry won Best Tourist Office. Fantastic news.
I'm here today with our lovely network TIC and our members, and we're promoting the visitor pass, which includes 10 attractions.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Sure you don't want to watch it again? So in terms of our sales activity, over the last 12 months to 12 to 18 months, we're working really closely with international travel trade to ensure that there is strong market presence for the city and district. We've trended over 40 shows and hosted over almost 260 industry representatives, travel trade and media. representing 32 countries or 32 companies over the last period. In terms of economic impact, currently our group series business into the city and district is worth almost 4.5 million in terms of bed night revenue. And this has been built upon over the years, working with all of the top operators, particularly from North America, Europe and further afield. We're always looking for new business and selling for 24, 25, 26, and that's really important at the moment to increase our activity. There's a lot of planned private sector investment in our accommodation stock, our attractions, our tourism experience, and they need to be supported as there's increased demand coming from the different markets. Next slide, please. So we mentioned business tourism, which has been slower to come back than the general leisure or leisure business. However, there have been some good wins for us in the last period. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks' time, the SLA, Socio-Legal Society Association, will arrive here with over 650 delegates from across GB and Ireland, and that'll generate over 200,000 local economic impact. We're working closely with Council and Derry GAA to secure the GAA World Games. That'll come in July 2023 this year and generate almost 24,000 bed nights to the city and district. And that's an economic impact of over 1.5 million. We've also secured in 2024 the Irish National Teachers Organisation, which is a good coup for us. It's almost $500,000 economic impact, but the fact that it's the first time the conference has actually been held in Derry in 90 years, and that's thanks to the work of our local ambassadors across the district who've helped us to secure that. And that happens at Easter time, and that'll be a good coup for the city and district at that time. Next slide, please. So we've had quite a number of marketing campaigns supported with Tourism Northern Ireland, Tourism Ireland over the last while, 12 national and international campaigns, reaching an audience of over 40 million, and working on with our key events as well. We're a strong advocacy of using the Derry Girls brand to raise the profile of the island, and we were delighted that Tourism Ireland secured the sponsorship of the final series on Channel 4. And more recently, really exciting to hear that the two Derry Girls will now be the leads in the new Tourism Ireland Fill Your Heart with Ireland campaign, which begins on Thursday, the 16th of March. And that will go global post St. Patrick's Day. So they'll be front and centre of all of the international campaigns for people coming to Ireland. So hopefully their face, with a motive connection to the destination, we'll have more people looking to come to Derry to enjoy the experiences that we offer. Next slide, please. So a lot of marketing activity, but we do have another role in terms of visitor servicing. So as you're aware, with the investment by Tourism Northern Ireland, Derry City and Strabane District Council and Department for Communities, we're delighted to get open the new visitor centre in Waterloo Place during the pandemic. We welcomed 80,000 visitors in 2022, and we have been servicing all the major events that have happened in and around the city. We work closely with the team at the Alley Theatre to provide support and job shadowing, research and advice to help them grow their VIC services within the Strabane. And our ultimate aim is to grow the coverage of visitor servicing right across the district and the Northwest. Next slide, please. So looking forward, there's really exciting opportunities coming up for the city and district. We've listed some of them, not going to go through all of them here. New hotel opening later in the summertime, the launch of the new Derry Girls exhibition in summer 23. The new Sperrin sculpture trail will be a fantastic addition to our trails and spread the benefit to the wider district. And we've already mentioned the City Deal and the Shared Island Initiative, which will see the opportunities for the walled city where the Wild Atlantic Way meets the Causeway coastal route. So that gives us positive endorsement of lots happening, lots of experience and tours and attractions for the consumer, and hopefully will attract more visitors to the destination. Next slide, please. We have, as mentioned in the show reel, we've won a number of awards. It's been great for the company, for the staff, and also for the destination. They're a great endorsement for us as an organisation, but also for the city and district as a great place to come and visit. Next slide, please. So this is our annual budget for 22-23. This year's income and expenditure reached for the first time almost just over £1 million. The move to the new location, Waterloo Place, played its part to help to rejuvenate the civic space, but also has added additional operational pressures for service delivery as we continue, like every other business, to face ongoing challenges of cost of doing business. It's a highly competitive global marketplace, and tourism doesn't sell itself. Tradition tells us that marketing budgets are among the first line items that are cut during times of funding challenges. And whilst competitors will fill the void where we have no presence or voice, our continued tactical marketing activity will drive our tourism recovery. Looking back, 2022 was a relatively good year, considering all the challenges that the city and district have faced. We've had a really good start to 2023, and we hope now, as we approach St. Patrick's Day, that our efforts over the last few years will see us convert a strong 2023 performance for the tourism sector. So we're cautiously optimistic that we are making good strides to fully recover the sector and deliver continued growth in the years ahead. Thank you, and I'll pass you back to the Chair to conclude.
Thank you, Odrin, for that presentation. So, Chair and ladies and gentlemen, everybody is aware of the challenges that all the councils are facing at the moment, but despite the independent review in 2018, and this now coupled with the current cut, this puts Visit Derry in a very challenging position. Tourism and the theatre industries, food, accommodation, transportation, education and retail makes a significant contribution to the economic jobs and livelihoods. We will continue to be smart about all our spending. And as Chair, I would like to assure you that our team, our hard-working team, will continue to do the best that they possibly can for the city and district. I would like to encourage, next slide please, I would like to encourage everybody to come along to the Tourist Information Centre on Thursday morning from 10:30 to support our Mayor Sandra Duffy's chosen charity this year, but also to get a wee sneak preview of the Derry Girls. I'd like to thank councillors and Chair and everyone here for this opportunity to showcase exactly what Visit Derry do, and thank you as well for your support over the last number of years. And we're happy to take any questions if there is.
Okay, thanks for that. I see Councillor Heaney, and then I see Councillor Cusack online.
Okay, thanks, Chair. I'd like to thank Odrin and Michelle for the presentation. I've obviously declared the interest that I'm on the board, so I'm fully aware and well aware of the excellent work that Visit Derry does and all that it brings to the city. And it's great to see that we are moving back towards pre-pandemic levels in the town, and you can see that for your own two eyes as you walk about the city centre and other places. I suppose the question I would have is like Derry Girls has been mentioned quite a few times throughout the presentation and is a key sort of driver for bringing people to the city. And it's great that the Girls are now fronting that publicity campaign worldwide. But how concerned would you be about the new visa arrangements that are being imposed on us due to Brexit, which mean that visitors, particularly from places like America and that, now have to apply and pay for a visa if they're coming up from Dublin, which is usually their point of entry onto the island. It's bound to produce a chill factor or a nuisance factor that could have people put off travelling north due to that. So how concerned would you be with that, and have you any estimation of the potential impact? Thank you, Chair.
I'll take another question then on Councillor Cusack.
Thank you, Chair. And just like Councillor Heaney, I want to thank Michelle Odrin and the team. It's been my pleasure to be in the board of Visit Derry for a number of successive years now, and I've seen the numerous successes and the numerous struggles the organisation has had. And I mean, the creativity and drive of the team has been first class, and especially in attracting new and return visitors to the city and the district. Well, essentially, the recent onto really, it's all about building our local economy and creating quality and secure local jobs, because that's our greatest asset is our city, its history, everything it's got to offer, and we want to share that with the world. And bringing people here will naturally feed back into the local economy, and give people jobs in the industry. We all seen that COVID created huge challenges for everyone, but especially the tourism industry. And I know that the Visit Derry team, with their partners, did not sit back on their laurels during this time, but they actually did focus on what they were going to do when recovery did come about, and then they focused to make sure that the city and district was front of mind as a visitor destination whenever the industry opened up for business again. And my question would be, we have concentrated on the Derry Girls quite a lot as an attraction for people here, but eventually the Derry Girls will wane a bit, and I've always been very, very strongly in favour of creating Derry as a film and broadcast destination, and I'd like to know what steps they're doing to sort of build on that, or to build on the Derry Girls, but also maybe to approach that industry and offer, show them what we've got, showcase Derry as a destination, because if we can do it with Derry Girls and the amount of interest it's created throughout the globe in this place for such a a colloquial show, I would say, what more have we got to offer and build on? And I think that's one of our greatest strengths. So that would be my question. But just to say congratulations, and also congratulations on the new premises and visitor centre. I mean, that was a headache in itself. It was a huge job of work getting it over the line, and it is very, very impressive, and the service that it gives to tourists, both within the city and from tourists outside, is second to none. So I'm looking forward to more years of success, and thanks again to the team, and thanks again for having me on their board for the number of years there. Thank you.
Do you just want to answer on those now?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. Yeah, in terms of the electronic travel authorization, I suppose all members are aware of the challenges that is presenting. We're in a unique scenario where the UK government are looking to introduce the ETA. However, in terms of Northern Ireland, that will present a challenge. And whilst they talk about not policing it, you still have to have it. So a bit of double jeopardy there. So the Northern Ireland Tourism Alliance have been working really closely through Westminster and through the MPs to lobby against the challenges that will be faced tourists coming in internationally to the destination. It will provide challenges for us in international markets and for Tourism Ireland in selling the island as a destination. The fact that one part of the island you do not need an ETA, whereas the north part you will need. And yes, the question remains, will that put off tourists coming north of the border if they do not sign up for an ETA before they arrived? I think there's still a lot of work to be done through Westminster, through MPs and through yourselves, through the different lobby groups. And of course, it's an extra barrier. Our challenge in promoting Northern Ireland international markets has been difficult over the past years. We're now getting really competitive, and it's disappointing that a barrier such as an ETA, which puts us at a disadvantage, is planned to come in by the UK government. In terms of the screen tourism, yes, look, this is our opportunity to benefit. Lots of destinations would love to have a Derry Girls. It's current. It is something that will give, and we hope, as looking at other comedies and screen tourism who've really lasted the test of time, and we believe that Derry Girls will do that too. We are at the early stages working with Council and Tourism NI in terms of developing additional product through the Tour Museum. Coming this summer, we're giving the market what they're looking for. The market wants to come to Derry. They want to experience. They want to touch, feel, have a Derry Girls experience. We're delighted a lot of private sector have provided those experiences, but it'll be great that we have something tangible in terms of an exhibition that people can also experience. And then in terms of the wider good, screen tourism is here to stay. There will be other opportunities down the line and other screens, whether it's TV, film. Yes, strategically, you'd like to think that we could create a position of strength within that, within the council and district area.
Michelle, you want to come on?
Just in response to Councillor Cusack, I'd like to congratulate Derry City and Strabane District Council for the excellent range of skills that have put on in partnership with the labour market partnership. I think it's of paramount importance that we continue to extend the skills out in order to fill the places that exist across the feeder industries in the Northwest, and the new students coming out of university and apprenticeships, that they have been given that opportunity through that. So just want to congratulate the council for that. Thank you.
Councillor Doyle.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Michelle, for coming on. I think we've had the opportunity to meet before. I haven't been on this committee in a while, and I'm not on it now, but I'm very interested in the work that you do. We obviously had a really difficult discussion over many months around rates and where we invest repairs money. And I had a number of conversations with stakeholders, both within council and out. And as you can imagine, whenever we're looking at top lines, you see big figures like, the Millennium Forum, like the SLA for Visit Derry. And I remember having a conversation with Aideen around, and we had a discussion not just about tourism, but around a whole other range of things in terms of duplication, things that we are doing in the city that actually aren't our responsibility. Regional agencies should be carrying out. We obviously have Tourism Ireland, we've got Tourism NI, and there's no questioning from me whatsoever the fantastic work that Visit Derry do. But in terms of where you fit in, I know you had the graphic there, which was very helpful in terms of your relationship with other organisations, but in terms of Visit Derry being an asset to the city and district, which it is it because as well that we find that the regional agencies don't necessarily focus as much attention on the city and district as what they should? That's my primary question, because it's something we've had a long discussion about. But in terms as well of how do you measure your impact? So if we're saying, I know you've mentioned it there in the presentation, and we've discussed it here many a time around bed nights. Are you in a position to identify, for example, let's say we are putting on an event as council, say Halloween. I'm not entirely sure. We can't delve down and say council, as a result of having this event, have brought X thousands of people to the city and district. Are you able to say, in terms of the work that you're doing outside of the conferences, because I know that's more precise, are you able to point to a figure and say we are almost fairly sure that in terms of unique visitors that Visit Derry have brought X amount of people? Because I know you're in the conversations that I've had with officials and in your slides, Sarah, you mentioned about NISRA. And the reason why I say this is because we've had a number of organisations who will come into us at times, not just in tourism, but in a range of sectors, and say, we achieved X, but we actually have 3 or 4 of them saying the same thing, because they're all kind of feeding from one data set. So I'd be interested to hear your views on that. The other aspect of it was in terms of members. If, for example, what is the difference in terms of the support that members versus non-members receive from Visit Derry, particularly in terms of the SLA? Because I'm interested to know if, for example, do non-members of Visit Derry get the same, if you're promoting the city, do you promote this, members and non-members? Or what is it there that a non-member doesn't receive that a member does receive in terms of the product of the the destination market? So if you could help me out with those, I'd really appreciate it. But please don't take those in any way as criticism, because they're not. Because we can see the figures, and we can see, like Conor said, the amount of people that are coming to the city. And that doesn't happen by accident. But it's just to try and delve down to see if there's anything else that we can do to help in terms of trying to manage some of that information flow as well. Thanks.
Thanks for the questions. Just to cover off some of them, in terms of economic impact, yes, we're really dependent on the national agencies to help us with a lot of that research and give us the national basically local government district statistics on tourism, which are published annually. Obviously, it's been difficult over the last few years, and we've been advised by NISR that it's going to take some time to get back to the levels that they can actually continue to report. But again, even at that, statistics, the one way of collecting statistics, there's the official statistics, and then there's trends, which we will look at. We work very closely with the accommodation sector to track trends and to track the types of events that generate overnights. And for us, whether that's leisure business, whether that's an event, whether that's a conference, it's not us sort of saying that, it's the industry that is saying that. So they'd be telling us, that conference generated 400 delegates, we would know that, and then we would have an economic multiplier on that national standard. In terms of leisure, in terms of group, the challenge, yes, is around particular events. But yeah, we would work with the accommodation sector to know you can't get a room in Derry for 30 miles if Halloween's on a particular night. So we know we're at full capacity then, and we can track that and measure that. And that's a partnership approach. It's not about what Visit Derry are doing to deliver that. There are other stakeholders, the likes of Tourism Ireland. They invested £500,000 in a campaign. Their new campaign will be over 5 million, which will have lead the Derry Girls. So we have to say, are we getting our fair share? Yes, this year we will, because we feel they've used 2 characters that will create a emotive connection to the island, and we'll benefit this year. Maybe not next year, but this is our turn to benefit. In terms of the membership, yeah, we were set up as a private public sector model. So the idea is that, and we were talking about it earlier, like we have a radiology conference coming in, 250 delegates for 2 nights in September. But what are we generating off that? We're getting nothing out of it. But we have the conference secured. Who's going to benefit from that? You have the 250 delegates staying overnight. They're going to go to the bars, the restaurants. So there's a spin-off for the private sector. So the idea is if you're additionally supporting us to grow the business, you should grow the benefit to yourself as a business. So if you're a local tourism provider, if you're a bar or a restaurant, and most of them should have marketing budgets to invest, whether it's in social, digital websites, sales, and our membership costs about £165 for the year, and that basically incorporates them in their website, into our collateral, maybe the visitor map, and they get additional benefits where a non-member wouldn't get. So yeah, that was the ethos of you're building, whilst the public sector is supporting us as a not-for-profit company, the benefits come back to private sector. So the private sector would need to be buying in to support the funding of the organisation. And that's where we're, as a not-for-profits, we're trying to generate revenue as well commercially. But anything we generate goes back in to try and support the cost, to reduce the cost to council that you would have to be paying in as ratepayers.
Okay, I just have a question myself. I run a language school, as you probably know. We work very closely with these for PACs. I have found groups now, particularly since the British government changed the rules for entry into the UK with only a passport, we have found quite a number of groups who now just don't come north because there's a number of reasons. Kids don't have passports in Europe. Very, very few do. And some are in between states in many of the European countries we deal with, so they really can't you can't qualify for an Italian passport, for example, until you're 18. That, with what Councillor Heaney has said, is creating a two-island tourism market. I spoke to John McGrennan about this a couple of years ago. He sort of didn't think it was a big deal, but we're now seeing the outworkings of it. I think the south of England has seen a huge reduction in French school trips because of that. Do you think it's something that we can get the British government to change their mind? Because as it speaks today, if you are an Italian living in Donegal and you want to come here for Halloween, you shouldn't be in Derry without a passport. I just would like something on that.
Sorry. Yeah. That is such a, I suppose outside our remit, but definitely in terms of our lobby to government and through the national agencies, you know, the educational tourism market is massive. You can see that in Dublin, and there's no reason with the good work of Northwest Academy, Foyle, International, in attracting students to come here, but not only just to study here, to have cultural and civic life here, to be educated, but to immerse himself in the culture of the place, which is really about enjoying the tourism experiences and everything that the city and district has to offer. It's a bit like, as you mentioned, the ETA. We now compete. We're not on a level playing field, and that's all we've ever wanted as a destination. You know, we've had challenging years. We always only wanted ever to compete at a level playing field because we believe we can deliver a fantastic product with great people and with fantastic culture and heritage for people to enjoy. But when you look at some of the challenges that are put in front of us, yes, we would imagine that yourselves as committee members, council, working with MPs, that lobby could definitely be much stronger to ensure that we do end up playing on a level playing field, because it does impact on our tourism and our capacity to increase tourism, particularly in terms of educational tourism, and who knows going forward with the ETA, the damaging impact that will have on the Northern Ireland economy.
Okay, I don't see any. Councillor Heaney.
Thanks, Chair. Just to that end, I would propose that this committee and you as chair, but with the full support of this committee, would write to whoever the appropriate minister is in the British government, expressing the concern about this, and just add this committee's voice to the lobby to get this changed for all the reasons that you've said. And can I just ask the end there in your list of conferences, what is a zombie conference? Just curious on that one.
I think Halloween, it's to happen on Halloween, so that'll tell you that there is an association of academic zombie protagonists that are planning on coming to the city.
On that note, I want to thank you for coming. I think it was very informative. I think your business model of obtaining 400k from the private sector is exemplary. I don't think we've seen one in council. No other organisation is doing that, and that in itself is a huge achievement. And I just want to thank you for coming along today. Thank you.
And I just thank you, Chair, for the opportunity as well, and to the councillors and to the ladies and gentlemen in the council just for their ongoing support. And we look forward to seeing you on Thursday if you have time. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we invite the next presenters. That's Leslie Crowther used to say, come on down. It's Jim, and you have a guest with you? Okay.
Well, good afternoon, Chair, Council officers and members. We're grateful for the opportunity to address the committee. Next slide, Sean, please. I just want to give a wee kind of quick, brief background because I'm aware that not all members will be familiar with the project. So Northwest Carnival was established in 2004, and we have led the way in the development of community and civic carnival arts within the Derry City and Strabane District Council area, working in partnership, particularly with its festivals and events team, to grow the appeal of the city's two main carnivals, the Spring Carnival, which is due to happen on Friday and the Halloween Carnival, developing and increasing participation and audiences, creating family-friendly, inclusive, quality, safe events for visitors and local communities alike. Next slide. The arts and community working in partnership. The carnival itself is a consortium consisting of a management committee and member groups that are representative of various arts and cultural organisations, individual artists and communities of interest from throughout the Derry City and Strabane District Council area. This includes the Waterside, Cityside, Rural and Strabane. Organisations represented at board level, because this is important. It's very important that we represent the geographic spread, and also we represent the various communities within the city and district. So we have Newgate Arts, we have Greater Chantal Community Arts, we have In Your Space, Rainbow Project, Waterside Neighbourhood Partnership, Bluebell Arts, and the Waterside Neighbourhood Partnership, Solace, Centre Brady, and the Strabane Community Improvement Project. Representing the council are the Arts and Cultural Manager, John Kerr, and the Business and Culture Representative, Maeve O'Neill. That should be actually Sean Arkin. Next slide. So engaging communities in civic celebration, that's our rationale, that's our reason for existing. I mean, I couldn't possibly name all the groups that participate in our various events, most notably at the showcases at Halloween and Patrick's Day. But suffice to say, we were at pains to be representative of the various communities, and it's something we're keen to try and reach out and not kind of rest on our laurels in terms of, there's universal, without blowing our trumpet too much, there's a universal acknowledgement that we deliver a good events by way of providing opportunities for various groups and organisations to participate in the civic events. But it's key that we continually build and reach out and encourage new groups and organisations. So, excuse me, people see the showcase, they see the end product, they'll see the parade on Friday, they'll have seen a Halloween previously. But it's important, I think, for members to understand that that is the showcase, but behind the scenes there's a whole range and raft of activity. There's various community-based workshops. I mean, obviously, to give you a wee context, we make an open call for community participation in our various activity. But behind that, so if you sign up for a parade, you kind of lock straight on we provide various workshops in small prop production and dance and movement and costume and design and production, to name but a few. So I just want to give a kind of financial sort of examination of what that means. Like, for example, if you're a community group, we try to because it's all about ongoing engagement. So it's important to have work, to engage on an ongoing basis, that it's not just right. And you go, you're a group, there's a costume, away you go, dance around the streets, and then you're away home again. It's important that we build and continue to develop the skills and the capacity of the various groups. So for example, one community workshop, say in prop production, we delivered 2 artists, 2 hours at £30 an hour. That equals 120 for one workshop. If you add materials, that's 220. So £220 represents one workshop in a community context. And we have a minimum of 2 workshops, sometimes up to 5. And for example, and all the groups can avail of all the kind of the workshops that they wish. You take, for example, a dance and movement workshop. We don't do any less than 5 2-hour workshops, and that basically equals £440. So if you multiply, sorry, I'm reading the wrong figures. Sorry. So in essence, that equals £300 for 5 dance 2-hour workshops. historically or traditionally, we normally have 8 dance groups. So that equals 2,400. I'm just purely using these as an example to kind of illuminate where the costs go, you know. So, I mean, we're currently preparing to deliver this year's St. Patrick's Day Parade in the city this Friday. So next slide, please. And in addition to that, we are providing support for the Strabane St. Patrick's Day Parade. And this year, or now at the moment, we're currently providing with Strabane and Rural to deliver, to engage with some of the groups that traditionally take part in Strabane. So it's all about trying to organise and provide activity, get groups to buy in, but the ultimate aim, with the ultimate aim of getting them to participate in their parade up in Strabane. So to that end, we're providing 60 costumes and various props to support that. So next slide. I have several slides here that are just showing some photographs of the parades, which I'm sure most of you will be aware of. So Sean, if you can rattle through a few. Next slide, please. Oh, I can see it now, sorry. And the next slide. These are just examples of the parades locally. That was last St. Patrick's Day. That's the Northwest Migrants Forum. Again, it's an example of where we're trying to reach not only, you know, traditional organisations, but new communities as well. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. So now we'll move on to the Halloween Carnival Parade. So bear with me till I catch up here. So let me see here. Each parade, for example, contains between 500 to 600 participants. Participants require costumes. So again, it's just to eliminate, to give some sort of detail in terms of where the money goes, and this will become clear as I go through the presentation. So you have to costume up to 600 people. Add parade prop production, and that includes design, materials and artist fees. Add the costs of participant transport, PA costs, marketing, and indeed the coordination of an artistic director and a community participant manager. And the overall costs well exceed the service level agreement. So I'm just kind of using that as obviously organisationally we seek and source money from other funding bodies, namely our kind of second main funder is the Arts Council. So we're not asking the council for everything. We're looking out and seeing where we can, because obviously the council, the SLA arrangement has allowed us to unlock additional costs. So, let me see. Next slide, please. If you just rattle through them, Sean, they're just different images of various parades. So, as well as delivering the two main showcases, we also are responsible for delivering world-class events. So it's not exclusively, although that forms the basis of our SLA arrangement. But in addition to that, we participate in our key council and district events, most notably the Foyle Maritime Festival, the Illuminate Festival, and just last year, the Columkill 1500 event. So these are just some examples of that. If you go to the next slide, Sean. That's the Foyle Maritime Festival. Next one, please. That's actually our chair there in the middle, the Boyle Frank with the fancy headdress. So not only does he work at board level, he also works and dressing up and participate. That's the Columkill Festival. Next one, Sean. Another example of that. Next slide. And then this is just some examples. I know we're hopefully emerging out of COVID, but COVID, like a lot of organisations, faced a lot of challenges. So, I mean, we were obviously able to adapt. And I think Rory, Councillor Farrell, you did speak highly of what we did at St. Colum's Park. So that, I mean, that's an example of that. Next slide. Next, these are some of the installations. Basically, the alternative program we provided, we couldn't have a parade, so we organised a sculptural trail across many areas, but particularly in St. Collins Park. Next slide, please. These are the park. Next one. Next one. I put too many slides on, so I'm just rushing through these, so please bear with me. Next one. Next one. So again, COVID, the kind of aim for that was trying to let the light on during COVID. As we all can remember, they were dark times and people were quite isolated. So we done a lot of activity online, and you know that at least kept that connection with our community and provided opportunities for people to engage. So if you go to the next slide. And that happened both in Derry. Halloween, normally we would do stuff in Derry, but as a result of COVID, and the stuff was online, it meant that we could do stuff in Strabane and rural as well. So that was, although it provided challenges, it also provided opportunities for us. Next slide. The next couple of slides, again, we were well aware of people's sense of isolation. So these are all window displays throughout the town and district that worked with care homes, because obviously they felt particularly vulnerable. Keep going now, that's grand. And then in addition to that, we actually went out into the community and put site-specific installations across the town and district. So that was a great success. Keep rattling on there, grand. Happy days. I'm probably rushing here, but it gives you a sense in terms of the activity. Then obviously during the springtime, the St. Patrick's Day Parade had to be cancelled. So again, we went out into the various parks across the town, and again done a whole series of online programming, which, you know, while it's not the same crack obviously as dancing in a carnival parade, but you know, it uniquely provided us opportunities to reach a wider audience. And again, that activity was right across, you know, between Derry and Strabane and everywhere in between. That's obviously the alley. Keep going, Sean. Thank you. This is up in the city centre. Some of you may remember it. You just hold that slide there a wee minute, Sean. The thing about this was, and that's where out of diversity provided opportunities to engage new people. Part of the spring, the alternative to St. Patrick's Day Parade, at Spring Carnival, we reached out and engaged with various primarily middle-aged women, I have to say, but that's all right. You know, that's good. But they embraced our idea of getting them to produce crocheted flowers that we then in turn could use to decorate the town. So it meant, you know, and again, we had online tutorials and working with kind of local sewing groups that allowed us to reach people that we had never reached before. So that's something we're hoping to kind of, and we have built upon, because you know yourself, once you make a contact and open the door, all things are possible. So maybe rattle on to the next slide. So developing skills in Strabane and rural communities. We've delivered training programs engaging community, arts and cultural organisations from across Strabane and rural areas. We are currently working with several groups in the production of costumes that support increased participation in this year's St. Patrick's Day Parade. Let me just see if we've got any idea into that. Some of the other activity, you'll see examples of it now. If you want to batter on now, Sean. This is a masterclass in the production of illuminated installations that we held on the Strabane Health Project. Next one. Again, these are more, that's an example of what they produced. So you can see that, you know, again, we try and, you know, because resources are finite. So the whole idea of the masterclass was that we would engage local communities, raise their skills base, and then you'd have a product at the end of it, something that could help make their organisation a bit more sustainable. And also the organisations themselves could have avail of the stuff that they help create. So it's a 1-1. Next slide. Again, this is an Strabane group out northwest, which work with young people with from the LGBTQ plus communities. That's some examples of some of the groups across the Strabane and rural, again, where we rolled out a whole series of workshops. Now, again, key to the success of these things are that we engage with the various communities, ask them, well, what's your needs? What do you want? So a lot of them, they wanted face painting workshops. They wanted so where possible, we try to respond to what they were after. So a few more slides here, Sean. Next one. So again, key to our activity is the upskilling of artists across the city and district. There's no point in end. There's a lot of great creativity there within the city and district, but there also is a deficit. And we have found, particularly since COVID, a lot of artists were unable to find any sort of employment at all. So this aspect of our programme is really important, because if we can upskill current artists or upskill new and emerging artists, we're sowing the seeds for the people who will lead the way kind of going forward. So next slide. Again, this is just that's last month. We had a workshop in constructing willow structures. You'll see that on the parade on Friday. Again, the whole theme of the parade this year is recycle and revival. So we were, again, given the state of the planet and the current situation with the environment, we were trying to explore ways, new and exciting ways that use sustainable materials. So that's why we had on willow, That's a masterclass in prosthetics. Next one, Sean. Here's some examples of it, which again is ideal for Halloween. Again, we're going to produce, or we're going to go to, because masterclass do take a lot of money, and we do try and invite artists from throughout the world. So it's important that we do something that's going to be useful. That happened to tie and dovetail on the Halloween parade. So again, next slide. Again, this was an example of a lantern making workshop. This one here, that's the Luton Centre for Carnival Arts. So again, trying to bring in new professionals from the field and upskill our local artists, because, as I say, they are the future. We want to ensure that any kind of cultural, particularly carnival activity, that we have the necessary skilled people here. Next slide, please. So Northwest Carnival only delivers services to its various carnival skills and community support programs to over 3,000 people. Again, there's different examples. There's too many to go through them all. Next slide. So here's some of the classes that we rolled out. This is in Newgate Arts up in the Fountain. We successfully made an application to the Art Council for a vacuum former, again, in consultation with the artists. We kind of had a wish list of what would help us improve our product in terms of both for participants and the early audiences at some of the showcases. And that was vacuum former was kind of top of the list. So we secured the money off the Arts Council, and we currently now take that out in a community setting because it's mobile, and where again we obviously want to try and bring community groups to us, but if they can't, it's important for us to do our utmost to go to them. So that's an example of that. Next slide. That's just examples of some of their work. This is an old one, but it's a good example of where we got a group in the Fountain to use a vacuum former to make installations that was then in turn displayed during the weekend on the walls. Now I know it's been a couple of years since the walls have been animated in that sense, but again, it's a perfect kind of platform. It's a perfect stage, and I would hope in the future we could re-engage with the walls again. Next slide. This is just an example of some of the groups. That's the Pink Ladies, who are women who are currently going through cancer treatment or formerly haven't went through it. Next one, that's the social inclusion unit down in, they call it down in the play trade, sorry. So again, it's important to represent all communities of all abilities. So it's just another example of where we've reached out. So the next slide, please, and the next one. So that's the service level agreement as it stands now. I know we're coming to an end, and hopefully the case will be made for it to be renewed. But that's how it breaks down. If you look at it, the key ones obviously are the delivery and management of the community participation program, the Spring Carnival, and also for the Halloween parade. I would argue, and I don't think anybody would disagree with me, the money we get, while welcome, it's more than value for money, because I think if you were to buy an outside agency to deliver what we deliver, it just wouldn't be possible. Next slide, please. This is just another wee example of how things have come on. The St. Patrick's Day audience in 2018 was 20,000. The St. Patrick's Day parade participation in 2018 was 284. Now, that's actually wrong. The Halloween parade in 2022 is actually 40,000. So you can see the increase. And we would argue that we play a key role in the promotion of obviously the Halloween parade. That's a main central plank to what we deliver through the SLA. And Halloween parade participants and 2022 was 610. So our kind of current participation numbers sit around between 500 and 600 participants. So I just want to, so I don't have a slide for it, but I'll maybe just talk about why we feel we bring value for the money that we get. The Halloween parade in 2022 attracted 40,000 people. Well, Halloween Day, I suppose we can't make a sweeping remark like that, but there was audience numbers of 40,000 people that were counted for the Halloween parade, for the day of the parade. So it's safe to assume that people came to the city for the parade. According to the research, the audience breaks down as 70% local and regional, which represents 28,000, 30% out of state, 12,000. So we know that on average, we also know that on average, and this is Tourist NI source, we know that an average day visitor spends £18 and an overnight visitor spends £55. So if you have 28,000 coming from local and regional, spending £18, this isn't exact, this is based on the source material, that would bring into the local economy 504,000. 12,000 out-of-state visitors on average spend £55, so that represents 660,000. So that means a tourist economic impact of 1.1 million pounds. So I think the statistics speaks for themselves. An investment in the Northwest Carnival not only benefits the community in terms of participating in civic events, but it also benefits the wider economy. So next slide, please. We're currently, last year we just released our strategic plan going forward with a mission to work collaboratively to deliver and promote an outstanding creative offering and engage the community in civic celebration of our diversity through Carnival Arts. Our vision is for creativity to become a way of life for any community and to be recognised locally, nationally and internationally as a vibrant, creative and inclusive organisation, developing and thriving and sustainable arts and creative sector. Values include the power of creativity and the arts, social inclusion and cultural diversity, innovation and excellence, collaboration and integrity, community-led regeneration and accountability. Next slide, please. Our priorities are, I'll not read them all out, but our priorities, aims and priorities for 2022 to 2025 is community participation to provide a diverse range of opportunities for community participants and personal expression, engagement through carnival arts and creativity, social inclusion and diversity with an aim to promote social inclusion and celebration through carnival arts, and enhance civic and community cultural offering, and to promote. And thirdly, to promote innovation, creativity and enjoyment of community arts. Next slide. Collaboration is a key aim and partnership. Sustainability in terms of income regeneration is another key aim, and skills, and finally skills development to support and promote a diverse range of training, skills development, employment, partnership working and commissioning opportunities for local artists and organisations. Maybe just call upon the chair, Frank, to say a few words just from a board point of view.
Yeah, just from point of view of being the current chair, I would think that everyone here, whether online or present, would agree with what Jim's presented, that you get an awful lot of bang for your buck for what you actually give the Carnival Initiative. And every one of those points that Jim was making towards the end about inclusion, partnership, community participation, supporting local artists, developing the creative and the arts sector, the Northwest Carnival Initiative, not just through the work it does with the Spring Festival, St. Patrick's Day, Halloween, but with all the other festivals and through the workshops and community involvement. It's a driver of the arts in the town. It's a driver of community participation in the arts, community involvement in the arts, but it's also an economic driver. I mean, can you really think that, without the parade and everything that goes into it at Halloween, the hotels, the B&Bs, the pubs would be thriving to the degree that they do? I mean, we appreciate very much the service level agreement, but I mean, as we know, the cost of everything is going up, and I know it's tight for everybody. The service level agreement enables the Carnival Initiative to attract other funding in to help what we do. But if we actually look at the level of community participation and community involvement, I think without the Carnival Initiative, if you had to buy in somebody from somewhere else to provide the service that Jim and the volunteers at the Carnival Initiative do every year, then I think you'd be paying an awful lot more for something that couldn't be delivered quite as well, because a lot of this is based on local knowledge and local engagement with the community arts sector in the town. I was going to say something else about our whole new strategic plan and that, but I'll no bother, because you don't actually need the detail of that, apart from that we do have a 5-year strategic plan, constantly looking at our finance and funding. We have subgroups for that. We have subgroups on governance, subgroups for creative development for the future. But, I think Jim's presentation here, covered the value of the service level agreement to the Northwest Carnival Initiative as an organisation. I think it covers fairly well too the value of the Northwest Carnival Initiative to this city and to the communities throughout the city and the wider council area. And I would, personally, I mean, he knows that I commend what he does anyway. But I mean, I would hope that the council members and everybody else can actually see clearly what gets delivered year in, year out. Whether there was COVID or a pandemic, they were still out there brightening people's lives up in some way. Okay?
That's near enough.
Turn off your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Just hold the Councillor Logue. Yeah.
Hi there, my name's Martin McClelland. I think that the Northwest Carnival is a great institution here in Derry. In my opinion, I think the city wouldn't be the same without the Northwest Carnival. I think it brings so much. It should be funded well into the future if the arts are to grow in Derry.
Hello, my name's Helen Quigley and I'm a costume maker and designer here at the Northwest Carnival Initiative. One of the joys of working in the Carnival Initiative is the fact that we engage the community. One of the major benefits of the resource to the local area is that the city and district can take full advantage of the costumes and props that we provide to costume and prop their own festivals.
I've been volunteering at Northwest Carnival Initiative for 5 years. I absolutely love it and I can't stop coming up and learning new things. It's the friends you made up here mainly, like it's just so much fun and everybody's so friendly and they're just willing to teach you new skills. But it's been great for my mental health as well.
This masterclass has been a great opportunity to learn and improve upon basketry weaving skills. I'd be very environmentally conscious, so an added bonus has been using locally grown willow materials to make these beautiful sunflowers that are going to be showcased in our St. Patrick's Day Parade.
I'm Mr. Bamwama from Tyrone. Started off with the Northwest Carnival Initiative in September. What's there not to enjoy about the Samba Band, to be honest? Just connecting with people, doing something completely different that I wouldn't normally do. And it was so good to be a part of something as big as the Halloween Festival.
The parade's all about celebration. It doesn't matter where you come from or who you are. It's all about empowerment and equality, and that's what makes it such an amazing day.
What I like about the Carnival Parade is like you get to meet new people and just dancing just makes me feel really calm.
And I like going on the buses and just chatting to my friends and like having fun.
On the bus I feel really nervous, but once I'm out there I'm like, whee!
Yeah.
As Mayor, I have been really privileged to work with Northwest Carnival Initiative. The work that they do for the city and district is phenomenal. Getting ordinary people involved in the celebrations and bringing then their imagination and their colour to our celebrations, that's what makes our carnivals so special.
Thanks, Councillor Logue and then Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much, Frank and John, for the presentation. And sure, look, what can we say? We all know what the Northwest Carnival Initiative have delivered to this council district and continue to deliver on what, you know, as a reduced budget. It is unfortunate, I suppose, that you know, council finds itself in this position this year, but hopefully, you know, things will get better. You did mention all the benefits of the arts, and we all know them very, very well, especially when they're local and community based. The participation that you have goes right across the board, and you do what it says on the tin. Everything that Jim mentioned, you know, is very, very clear for all to see. And I have personally attended a lot of the events that would have occurred throughout the council district, and the Calm Kill one I found very, very, very good and very, very interesting. I think going forward that, you know, we can continue to just support the service level agreement. You are right in saying that, as well as all the benefits that it gives, the skills that it gives communities and the well-being factor that it brings to all the people of the city and district, that it is an economic driver. And without these events and the content of the events, we wouldn't have a lot of the visitors to the city and district. And just want to thank you for that and hope you continue on in your good work. And I'm certainly looking forward to the carnival on Friday and seeing the basket weaving sunflowers. Okay, so thank you very much. And Jim, maybe you'll take a wee leaf out of Frank's book and be part of the carnival.
Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Jim and Frank, for coming here today. Obviously, your attendance is timely. In 72 hours, the parade on St. Patrick's Day is going to be over, and I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic spectacle, like every other parade that you've organised across this city. So really looking forward to St. Patrick's Day parade. I call it the St. Patrick's Day parade. Other people call it something else, but that's a matter for them. We can't forget, Jim, you already mentioned about how much I enjoyed, the display you put on at St. Collins Park over the last number of years because of COVID at Halloween. But the Halloween carnival itself is just amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed it last year. The weather wasn't great, but the atmosphere was absolutely electric. And I wouldn't miss either of those events. It's something that I personally would look forward to all year. And it's a fantastic showcase for local talent, a fantastic showcase for local creativity. And it's a fantastic example of communities coming together, schools coming together, cultural groups coming together, sports clubs, all sorts of organisations coming together, acting as a team and delivering a world-class event for people in this city and district and visitors alike. And what I always remember is when you look at the participants in the parade, when you look in their eyes, when you see the smiles in their faces, you can actually see that they absolutely love what they're doing. And, for me, it's a fantastic spectacle, but the level of enjoyment that people in the parade get, that's what makes it for me. And he had said that, we see the end result. We see the parade, we see the colour, we see the theatre around these parades, but we don't see the work that goes on in the background. We don't see the preparation. We don't see the workshops, which must be going on all year long to actually deliver parades of that size and magnitude. We see the end results, which are excellent, but we don't see all that work that you do across the community in terms of outreach to other organisations. So well done, fantastic, and really looking forward to Friday. Thank you.
Councillor Doyle and Councillor Harkin.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks for coming today. I'm not on this committee. I specifically came today to learn more about your work because we had a tough time recently of looking at things on a spreadsheet and wondering where money was going. And what I don't understand is how there's so many organisations who can't do half of what you're doing with 10 times the money. How you're able to do so much with so little. I'm blown away, to be honest, particularly with the video. I mean, I don't know why I'm all that surprised, Jim, because I know you've been doing this since I was away, and even the work outside of the Carnival initiative that you do in the community, people have known about that for many years, and it has made a massive difference. But I just made a note of whenever the video was on there, of the work that you do actually changes the whole feel of events. I think it was you said it that people now come out on Halloween specifically for the parade. They now come out on St. Patrick's Day specifically for the parade. If it wasn't there, they wouldn't be the same. There's nothing that we could do as a council would replicate the work that you do if there was 100 people working on it. So I think it's fantastic, the work you're doing, and I'm glad they have learned more about it, because it's sometimes when you're sitting here and when we're going through a process when it's just about money, you don't see the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and it's absolutely fantastic. And there's a hell of a lot of organisations out there I think could learn a whole lot from the work that you're doing. So thanks very much.
Councillor Harkin.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks to Jim and Frank for coming in today. And apologies for not being able to be in the chamber, but I'm at home here with 2 children with chicken pox and doing my looking after them duties. But I thought that was a extremely comprehensive presentation that you give, Jim, and I think that anybody that didn't know the work that you did, I think that there's not much I can add in terms of saying this is what the Northwest Carnival Initiative does. I think it was all in there, and and I think that it's multi-layered. I mean, you put on world-class events that other people benefit from in a way that you don't, to be quite honest. From hotels and people who are doing all sorts of things. The way that you work with communities and bring the breadth of communities in terms of like all different backgrounds, all different parts of the city, all different age groups, is absolutely amazing. But then you also work with and showcase the amazing talent we have here in terms of artists, and I think that is an amazing thing that you're able to achieve. So that we owe you a lot in terms of a council, and other people who benefit from these world-class events that you produce owe you a lot as well. And that's why it is significant that I think what we get from the Northwest Carnival Initiative, from the money, is you couldn't get it elsewhere. And maybe there's a sense that that the Northwest Carnival Initiative is taken for granted, or maybe that our artists are taken for granted, because sometimes when people look at artists, they go, artists enjoy doing art, but this is work. This is people's livelihood. They're for you and for others. I know that this isn't a 9-to-5 job. This is a vocation in terms of making this happen, because it wouldn't happen otherwise. All those other things, all that outreach, all them workshops, all that engagement, wouldn't happen if this was treated as a 9-to-5 job. So, I would ask you, like, in terms of the financial pressures now, I'd be curious to hear what impact that's having on the Northwest Carnival Initiative, because look, we healthcare workers were clapped during the pandemic, but they're not getting properly treated, as we all know. From a council level, it would be it's not good when we're doing the same. So that would be useful to hear. And I suppose the second question, and we might not be able to get into it today, but it was something that we did discuss having a review of, was just this year's Halloween parade, or this year's Halloween activity, because I know local artists were interested in talking about how they could have been more involved in some of the aspects of Halloween this year. And that's something I think that the council in particular needs to follow up with. But I know that you're talking to regularly a lot of the arts and culture workers across the city and the district, and I'm sure you've got some insight into that. But look, thank you for the work that you do. I think that it's of tremendous value to the council and people who live here and enjoy all the events that he's put on. It needs to be better valued, and that's reflected in the support that you're given. And I look forward to all the events going forward, particularly the St. Patrick's Day Festival, this parade this Friday. So thanks again.
Councillor Donnelly.
And thanks for that, talks. Great presentation. And look, I seen the work that you do firsthand when we were in the building next door to you. I seen the hours that you spent and what went on there. So just to put on record my appreciation, and most of the points that could be made have already been made. Just one thing that over the last number of days, and I've seen some of the commentary after it was brought to my attention today, but there seems to be an ongoing thing now regarding the St. Patrick's Day parade, where it's a spring carnival. I don't know, it seems to have blown out of proportion, and I'm just wondering, has that done, maybe it's not yourself that can answer that, it might be council officers. What's going on there? Because I can't fully grasp it. I know that there is huge talking point within social media. In saying that, we know what social media, is like. Things can get blown out of proportion. I'm not sure if anybody can clarify that. But look, I appreciate the work that you do, Jim, and the people around you. I've seen it at first hand. Thank you.
Okay, is that a question, Councillor Donnelly, for Jim, or is it a question for you?
No, it's a question for
Aidan's going to
whoever.
answer on that. Gary, sorry, Aidan, Councillor Donnelly. Aidan's going to answer on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so thank you, Councillor. Just to come back, I've seen some of the commentary around this, and just to clarify that, I suppose in the city here, we've got the name of the festival has been the St. Patrick's Day Spring Carnival since, I think, 2010. It reflects strongly the carnival ethos of the St. Patrick's Day events in the city here. And it also, from a marketing and promotion perspective, has been very useful because it traditionally has reflected the fact that our St. Patrick's Day events and our Spring Carnival events stretch over more than one day. So it's very useful, and I know I've responded to this query in the past. It has been very useful in the sense that we've not so much this year because we've faced budgetary pressures over the last couple of years between one thing and another, but it has always reflected very well that we've had a 3 or 4 day event, which is why it is St. Patrick's Day Spring Carnival. In Strabane, it's just St. Patrick's Day Strabane because that reflects historically that it has always been since certainly before the formation of the new council, it's always been St. Patrick's Day in Strabane. I mean, we can look at that name change, and it may be that we look at dropping the Spring Carnival, but I think particularly given the presentation today, it is important, and it's a very strong indictment of the success of the Carnival Initiative and Carnival Arts in this city that the St. Patrick's Day event has been known as the St. Patrick's Day Spring Carnival. So I hope that clears that. That's why it has been known that since 2010, and I think officers have never looked to change that. So that's the background to that.
I see no further speakers, so I just want to thank you, Jim and Frank, for your presentation. And can I say, I think somebody said there was a lot of photos. The photos is what animated the words that you used. Very often, you hear out there that the community and arts sector in the city is ignored. I don't think we can say it about the work that you're doing. The thing I like about it is that every pound spent is spent local and spent in this region. Very often, you'll get people coming along and selling various things as art, and sometimes you see how much councils pay. What I liked about your presentation, you're working right across this district with all age groups. You're teaching people skills as well. And in better times, it's we should be talking to you about how we can work more with you. You're local, you're supporting the arts, and you're giving people skills. I mean, it's all the things that I think all councillors here are keen to do and develop. So I've wrote here, you're really an integral part of our festivals. Now you're like a strategic partner for us, and we shouldn't ever take you for granted. So I just want to thank you for coming along today. I think the work you do is outstanding. Everybody is saying that, but it's difficult times. We know it's difficult times for everyone, but let's hope these times pass, and hopefully these Tories can get out of power and maybe things can improve, who knows. But we as a council value the work that you do, and I think Sinn Féin as a party definitely value it, and I haven't heard anyone today that wasn't thankful for the effort that you make. But I don't want you to go away just thinking, it's kind words, all tea and smiles. We do value it, and And we hear what you're saying. I know you aren't saying it loudly, but we know what you're saying. That's all I'll say. But we as a council definitely will continue, hopefully, working with you much in the future. And we won't take you for granted. So thanks for coming. And best of luck on Friday for the festival. I think we'll all be there. And I called St. Patrick's Day Festival too, just as a by the by. But I have seen the media coverage on it. Thank you. Councillor Doyle's volunteered, no? So we'll just go on to Chair's business. It's an open business anyway. Item 6. The only thing I have is just to welcome all members to the St. Patrick's Festival. There's a 24-hour bus which starts at 6 o'clock, and all proceeds will be going to Choice Housing. So I'm just inviting as many members, spread the word, and hopefully raise some much needed cash for the homeless.
Chair, did I hear you were singing and dancing at the bus? Can you confirm that for us?
Comment, there'll be no dancing, that's a sure thing. I'm allergic to dancing, but moving on now to item 7. Matters arising from open minutes of B&C committee held on the 7th of February. Does anyone wish to raise anything? Okay, moving on. Item 8, car parks resurfacing scheme update. Would you Kevin for that?
Thanks, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to provide you with a progress update on the off-street car park and resurfacing scheme and seek approval for an additional £22,516 to provide for sufficient contingency budget for the scheme. You will be well aware that back in June last year, approval was granted to look at addressing defects in across 9 of Council's off-street car parks. An initial budget of £330,000 was identified for those remedial works prior to the full scoping of the schemes themselves. So 4 car parks were identified as the highest priority and for immediate works themselves, and they're detailed in the report. A draft programme for works for the scheme projected a completion of June this year, subject to the issues highlighted in 2.3 of the report. So council officers have been working across directorate approach around the development of the resurfacing programme of works themselves. The project itself is still on target for completion by June 23. The QS, principal designer for the scheme, was appointed in autumn. All of the various surveys, the design work and technical work has followed. A number of options were presented and reviewed for each of the 4 car parks. Costings were then completed by the QS on all the options, which have been reviewed by business and capital projects teams with any technical issues discussed. So basically, the options were scored using a number of factors, including the duration, build costs, various different cost models, number of parking bays and various requirements. Only one option is feasible from a cost perspective that will also provide minor improvements to the layout, provide additional disabled bays, introduce more child-friendly and parent-friendly parking bays, and install generally wider access bays across these car parks themselves. Another key factor was the duration of the works. officers are mindful that these were deemed as high priority due to the health and safety angle of what we were chatting about. And so therefore we want to try to deliver this scheme as efficiently as possible. So the drawings for the preferred option are currently being finalised for tender information along with a full documentation pack. The tender publication date is this month, following engagement with the stakeholders. So throughout all of that process, the QS has identified the need for a budget of £352,000 as opposed to 330. So that's where the additional £22,000 comes in. Basically, to allow for appropriate contingencies. The table of the various cost options is detailed in 3.6. I would note that in relation to the Claudy car park option, it does require the moving of the Claudy Memorial. Officers have worked with the families to date on the redesign of that space where the memorial is located. Designs for this have been developed in-house and further discussions will take place as part of the stakeholder engagement. As I said, the financial implications are the need to allocate an additional £22,516.25 for contingencies. If it does come in under that, then obviously that money will be reallocated to the subsequent next 5 car parks, which will come on in phase 2 and is contained and will be sought in a different funding period. So the recommendation is that members are asked to note the contents of this report and approve the additional allocation towards the scheme for contingencies.
Councillor Farrell, then Councillor Cusick.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Kevin, for the report. I've got a couple of questions. So the additional 22k, we have no issue spending it because the car parks need done. But have we identified where that's coming from? Because it doesn't say it in the paper. In terms of the Claudy Memorial, I know that's very sensitive. Has there been any resistance from families about moving that, or is everybody all on board regarding that? Thirdly, the renewal of the Shantala Health Centre car park is long overdue, and I previously compared it to the Grand Canyon. So hopefully come June, that's not going to be an issue. But is there a schedule of works in place in terms of, would we envisage that the 4 car parks are done in any particular order, or would they be all on site at the same time? And the fourth question, I might be being a bit pedantic, but for the Claudy car park, it said the preferred option is £96,494.56. But that's not one of the options in the paper. So I don't know if that changes the sum or changes the contingency required, but the option that's been identified isn't one of the 4 options.
I'll deal with the car parking related queries first of all. So obviously the 330,000 identified budget came from our in-house capital team doing, an initial survey back when we first identified the issues. The additional 352, it's not that it's additional, it's just that the work has been fully scoped out in a more detailed manner to allow us to prepare the contract documentation. In terms of the order in which the works would be delivered, that'll be up to the one in tender. The contractor will set out a contract of works. We'll be able to inform members of that whenever the procurement is complete. Well, we'll be able to informally inform you, as we don't have a committee, obviously, between now and then. And so that'll be down to the contractor, to be quite honest. In relation to the figures, I need to double check just in relation to what the difference is between the 2 figures, just from the documentation. But I can assure you that the figures that we have around the preferred option of £352,516.25 with the contingency is the figure that has been provided for us. Obviously, we'll go to contract, we'll go out to tender and see what comes back. But we feel, our capital team in the QS feels, that that's sufficient budget to be able to deliver and also cover any of the unknowns and contingencies from the works themselves. I think that's my ones, and then Stephen's just going to handle the other. Really.
Thank you, Chair. Just in relation to obviously the Claudia Memorial, I've met with the families on several occasions prior to this to make sure they were informed, to make sure they understood the works that was happening, to make sure they got sketches of what would be happening to the space, etc. We will then now work this up, and I've kept in constant contact with them, either through email or going to meetings in the evening. So as part of this then as well, we will engage with not just that group as the stakeholders, we have to engage with all the stakeholders in Claudia to make sure they're all on board, as we do with all the schemes, but just to assure you that there's a constant line of communication with the families.
So just based on that, I'd propose the item. Thank you.
Councillor Cusack.
Thanks, Chair. And just on that, I'll second the item. But obviously, Council won't shirk its responsibilities when it comes to health and safety measures. And from the figures we've been given there, it's unfortunate that, like everything, materials and services, the prices have increased substantially. But I want to take this opportunity to raise the issue of road surfaces throughout, not just the council road surfaces. And we all know everybody is having an issue with DFI in all capacities, whether it be potholes, whether it be white line painting, etc. And one of the hurdles that I have experienced has been trying to determine land ownership and land responsibility. I mean, I know council gets wrongly blamed for, you know, the state of the roads or the state of certain areas when it's actually DFI responsibility. And one of my colleagues, Steve McCallan, recently was dealing with an issue of a car park opposite Pennyburn Chapel there, and you know, trying to find out who actually was responsible and owned it was one of the major hurdles. So would it be possible, and could I propose that council write to DFI and ask for a point of contact, one point of contact for councillors in order to get information on land ownership, i.e. do you own it or do you not own it? Is this responsible? Is this your responsibility? Is it not? I dealt with an issue in Cedar Court and I had to go around the houses, like in footpaths that had been abandoned and hadn't been cleaned or cut or maintained in, I mean, about 5, 6, 7 years. And I had to go to the housing executive, do a land search, get the information from them in order to determine that it was DFI's land. And that took days and days. Whereas when I phoned DFI, you know, forget about it. That could be 6 months down the line trying to get a reply. So if you could take that forward, and could I propose that we write to DFI, get one main point of contact in order to do land searches on any areas that councillors are working with or having problems with. That I think that would be a great benefit and a great help and speed up sort of getting results on areas. Thank you.
Before I bring you in, Morris, taking up on Rory's point, on the paper it should have said that money's already in the rates, yeah. Because you know, when you read the paper, you're asked to approve something, but if members don't know we have the money, it's difficult to approve it. So, just in future, paper should say that. You know, it should say this money has been found or this money's in the rates. To take up on your point, I know it's probably the way we do things, but it just looks unusual. This is our estimate from in-house that we think, and we just want the contingency. You know, this is a contingency budget because we think it might be more. Am I right? That's what we're asking for, because it was 330. Now we're saying we might need 352, and that's our in-house people saying that, yes?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Is that the way we normally tender things, yeah?
Hasn't been tendered yet.
Yeah, but normally we made an estimate of 330. We now think it's 352. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but must be nearly a year ago now when we first the car parking issues were identified. So what you would have had then was our internal team basically looked at the car parks and did a cost estimate, and obviously on what that would take to deliver. And then once we got approval to do that, we obviously had to appoint, you know, an appropriate QS to do the detailed cost estimates and that type of thing. So because of the nature of the project, it's not necessarily black and white in terms of what you do within these car parks. It's what, you know, You can do a belt and braces job. You can do a job which can involve making sure that they're safe and that type of thing. So they basically worked on that over the past period of months, and they've come up with what their best estimate is at this point in time, which is the 352,000, and that does allow for the contingencies which you would have to do in every capital project itself. And yet the money was obviously allocated within the rates process already. We would normally actually put that into the report, but we wouldn't be coming to members out of the blue and asking for 352,000 beyond as an additional ask. No, we wouldn't do that.
Well, that's clear now. But I'm just saying in future, as long as members are clear today that this money is on the rates, so it's not an additional ask. I think that's what Councillor Farrell and myself were asking. A line there could have said an allocation is sought, but this has been allowed for within the rates, so it's no additional spend. We have a proposer and a seconder. I'll come to Morris Devaney now, then Jason Barr.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. And you just asked the question that I was going to ask, and around the clarity, and was there going to be an ask, or is this money readily available? Look, I have no problem with the promotion and upgrade of car parks. Some of the rest of the speakers is down to health and safety and delivering a good service for the council area within our car parks. But I just want to mention a few words in the issue and around the resiting of the memorial in Claudy. I know this last 2 or 3 weeks I've been contacted by quite a number of people who have really concerns. But I think this, Stephen, am I right in saying this is the very early stages yet? It's the very early in discussion, and there's a broader stakeholder discussion and around the memorial, because people are telling me quite clearly that the memorial should not be removed and sited somewhere else, but be kept where it, but be upgraded. That would be their terminology. But just to put that on the record, but I have no problem with the upgrading of the car park, but I just would raise concerns and around the resiting of the memorial. I think that's the word that's being used at the moment. And I think Councillor Cusack there was talking and around DFI. I know a number of us Strabane elected representatives met with DFI and around Strabane and around footpaths, there'll be footpaths and stuff like that there. And look, there is a defect system, and I, for the life of me, Chair, it's a legal word and I cannot remember it. But what it does is if there is footpath or any carriageway that work has been done on by another organisation, say council, what it does, it takes out DFI's liability then, so it does, and around it. So the wording, I will find the word and come back with it again sometime, but there is a word, and if there are any of the Strabane elected members on here might be able to remember it. For the life of me, I can't remember it. But Chair, just want to raise that concern and around the memorial in Claudy. Thanks, Chair.
If I could just come in on that one, just to make absolutely clear, because it's a very sensitive issue and I don't want any misunderstanding. When it says relocation, it's moving it a few feet and centering it within a car park. It's staying exactly where it is as per the wishes of the families, as per the multiple meetings I've had with families, as the contact I continue to have with families. So there'll be nothing that will be done to the memorial that will not be agreed with the families. It's all part of the resurfacing and the works that need to be done in the car park. The traffic flows, etc., are not safe as they stand, so we have to change all of that. There is a wider consultation then with the shops and the users of it, including the chapel, and we've contacted the parish priest already because there was a concern on the right of way. All of that is underway, but just to be absolutely clear, Alderman Devaney, there is no relocation in terms of from the space. There is a movement within the car park of the memorial, and that will all be done in conjunction with the families.
Chair, can I just come in and thank Stephen for that clarity, because that would allay a lot of fears and rumours and innuendos that are going on out there. But there's rumours on there about removing it and resiting it somewhere else. But thanks, Stephen, for that clarity, and that sends out a very, very clear message of where council is on it. And thanks, Chair, for allowing me back in again.
I see your comment there, just on Councillor Barr, but we have a proposal in a second, so without
Chair.
Do you want to speak on it? Okay.
No, just for yourself, I wasn't looking to second the proposal on which Councillor Farrell, that was the second Councillor Cusack's proposal that we write to DFI regarding for the single point of contact for all councillors, that we can contact DFI regarding issues like this. So it was just seconding Councillor Cusack's proposal when she came in to speak.
That's clarified, thank you. So can we move on now to item 9? Well, it was proposed and seconded, so yeah. Let's see, he's happy to second. I don't think there's anybody against that. Okay. Item 9.
Members, the purpose of this report is to inform you of a request by the Strabane bid for the barriers at the Canal Basin car parks to remain open and seek your approval to proceed with this action. So members will be aware that following incidents of antisocial behaviour back in 2017, Council installed a barrier system to restrict access to the car park, initially at Canal Basin North and then subsequently at the Dock Street entrance to the car park between the hours of 6:30 p.m. and 8:30 a.m. The barrier system is operated by a third party. So it was agreed that officers would monitor the situation, report back to committee as appropriate. Just to note that there's 2 car parks within the district who operate this system, so Canal Basin and William Street in the city itself. So May 22, the Strabane bid was approached by a number of businesses trading along Dock Street who basically were expressing their concern at the overnight closure. Their main issues focused on the impact of the closure it had on their business and the impact on customers and staff who were not able to access the car park beyond 6:30 p.m. Also, the negative impact on the evening time economy and visitors to the town centre availing of hospitality or attending performances in the evening. They also queried the financial implications to ratepayers due to the cost of having to pay for opening and closure of the barriers. So a survey was carried out by the Strabane bid itself of its members, and there's some figures there around the responses to that survey itself. And so in response to a request from the bid to accommodate the local traders and their staff over the Christmas period, the barriers did remain open for a trial period. This decision was taken by officers, but it was in consultation with local elected members from all parties representing the wider Strabane town area. PSNI were alerted to the action, and there were no incidents reported of antisocial behaviour to the PSNI or complaints made to Environmental Health and Council. So it is to provide reassurance to residents and members as proposed that the barriers would remain in place. However, they would remain open, but the ability to close them would still be there. That way, should there ever be a reoccurrence of those activities, the system could be reintroduced. So basically, there's a saving actually that can be identified with doing this. It costs around £10,950 per annum to operate the system. There will also be a positive impact for the traders in Dock Street and their staff, as well as for the visitors and locals coming on the town centre. So the recommendation is that members note the contents of the report and approve officers' recommendations to keep the barriers open in the Strabane Canal Basin car parks.
Okay, Councillor Barr and then Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me on this, and thanks for the report. I was one of the ones campaigning at the time for 10 barriers to go on to do with the antisocial behaviour. So look, I totally understand the concerns from businesses and the hospitality and stuff, and I was glad to receive the phone call, to ask what our views are on it were, and I was happy enough for the pilot scheme to go ahead, and then I was happy enough for that pilot scheme to go ahead, and then I was glad to read in the report that there was no antisocial activity reported, and we had no messages through our party regarding it, which was great to see. Just one question, Chair, and then if you let me back in after this, just to ask, was the residents on the Derry Road close proximity to this consulted, as this is where the reports came to us regarding antisocial behaviours? I'm just wondering, was the residents in close proximity to this notified as well?
It was It was a survey of the businesses, basically, around the Strabane town. So the residents weren't actually. So maybe we might need to look at that, but they weren't.
Perfect. That's grand. So even if the residents can be consulted, that would be great. And if so, if we can go ahead with that, then I'm happy enough to propose this item.
Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and I have the same concerns as the previous councillor, Councillor Barr. Look, yes, there were issues of antisocial behaviour there, but and the barriers were put in place to deal with that. But now we're looking at a report here saying that antisocial behaviour has almost disappeared, and we're looking to reopen the car park again. I have no problem with that, but I have the same concern as Councillor Barr. I have no problem, but I think the residents that Councillor Barr has talked about, we need to bring them into the discussion and see how they feel on the issue. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. And Kevin, as all our councillors have said, I definitely think the residents need to be part of this, given that they were a big part in having the barriers implemented. Can I just ask, it said 16 businesses answered the survey. What percentage of the businesses is that belong to the Strabane band? You know, have we many, you know, I think that's important too. We get this in context, like.
It's a small, but sorry. Is that yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's obviously a small percentage. Those are the businesses that are around that car park. Strabane Bud obviously goes well beyond that. And my maths isn't good enough to tell me what 16 out of, say, 350 is, but it's obviously a small percentage of the entire Bud area, which is much larger, say, than basically the businesses that kind of abut onto that car park.
Yeah, well, look, I understand that a lot of people won't respond because, you know, it doesn't directly impact on them, but it's concerning that that is such a small amount of businesses that have responded, and that we're going to take a decision on that based on just the amount of responses. Also, given that the residents haven't been consulted, I just, at this stage, I would want to maybe bring this one back to full council again or something to ensure that a proper consultation, because this could raise all sorts of stuff.
Any other speakers? Because we're still looking for a proposer, but what's the consensus?
I'm proposing if there's time, it gets brought back to full council. Sorry. With the residents, that the residents especially are consulted, and that maybe it's put out again for consultation to the businesses, because I would like to see a wee bit more participation from them too as well.
Do you have a seconder for that?
Just sorry, Chair, for yourself, just a wee bit of a legal question on it. Will the consultation happen before full council?
We'll try our best. The town centre manager, there's not that many, in terms of the residents, it's a small amount of people. Speak to the town centre manager and see what we can do around it, and whatever information we can gather together, we'll bring it back in time for full council. Yeah.
So that proposal by Councillor Lowe was seconded by Councillor Henny. Do we have any other speakers on that? Okay, so Kevin's going to do his best to talk to the manager and see if we get something back for full council. Moving on, item 10.
Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the progress of the Labour Market Partnership, to seek members' approval of the 23-24 action plan, and to seek members' approval to accept the letter of offer when it is received, as it will likely come in beyond this committee timeline. So members have previously been updated on the establishment of the interim labour market partnership under DFC's employability NI framework. The partnership was set up to improve local employability outcomes and labour market conditions by working through coordinated, collaborative, multi-agency partnerships across employability services and to co-design and co-commission local employability interventions. So from April to November 2022, the LMP operated under the SDP, and the permanent LMP was formed in December 2022. So the labour market partnership has now been established and is beginning to deliver on some of the outcomes set out by DFC back in 2022. The membership of the LMP consists of obviously Council, DFC, Department for Economy, Invest, Education Authority, North West Regional College, Ulster University, and other organisations and agencies, as well as the community and voluntary sector representation. So DFC has informed all of Northern Ireland's LMPs that funding has been committed for the 23-24 period, with the budget remaining unchanged as set out within the report. The LMPs must, however, be in a position to reduce operational budgets to the 22-23 allocation if DFC budget cuts are again necessary. So we obviously got budget cuts last year, and we may well get those this year, depending on the outcome of the letter of offer. So there's some progress has been made in the action plan itself for 22-23, and within the reports pack, the strategic assessment is outlined, which reviews the socio-economic data for the council area itself. So in relation to strategic priority number 1, obviously the LMP has been established, and that's the basis of priority 1. Meetings have commenced, and the various infrastructure has been set up. Strategic priority number 2 is around employability outcomes. So 5 industry-led academies have been set up and will be delivered within the time period by the end of this month. 4 in partnership with the North West Regional College and 1 with a local training provider. These are consistent across a number of different sectoral areas, whether it's office and IT and customer service, advanced manufacturing, engineering. There's a particularly interesting one with the Western Health and Social Care Trust. And then the Construction Academy, covering a range of disciplines, provides participants with the opportunities to work in a placement area of choice for 2 weeks. Throughout the report, you'll see that there are other activities, including a focus on apprenticeships and a real focus on promoting apprenticeships as a pathway to employment. The Enterprise Plus programme is underway and is being delivered and focusing on self-employment as a pathway to employment. The lifelong learning is about reviving and enhancing community education through a partnership approach. A bank of tutors has been procured to deliver on an extensive list of individual training courses and bespoke programmes themselves. And then strategic priority number 3 is to support the delivery of employability NI. It's more around awareness raising and promotion and that type of thing. So there's some information that's been contained in previous reports that is highlighted in this area. In terms of 23-24, there's a streamlined action plan which will deliver operationally on strategic priority number 2, and the themes of that are around skilled labour supply, so employment academies, so a series of 11 industry specific and 2 bespoke employment academies are proposed to reskill in areas where demand exceeds supply. So these are areas such as HGV, PCV, classroom assistance and security. A big focus around disability and access for all, and trying to unlock people with a disability and move them closer to or into the labour market itself. And then theme 3 is around economic inactivity and long-term unemployment. So that's about supporting for life and to work, and that's really a hand-holding exercise where a team will work across the condition management program itself. Try and introduce a flexible barriers fund will be available, obviously, and so we can address the needs of employers and residents which are not already covered within the first strategic priority 2 programs. Theme 4 is around lifelong learning and focusing on economic inactivity and really focusing on the skilled labour supply itself. Further in the report, the details are outlined themselves. As members are aware, it's 100% funded through DFC, and the figures are detailed in the report itself. So members are asked to note the contents of the report and to approve the 23-24 action plan, and also to give officers authority to accept the subsequent letter of offer when it is received itself.
Okay, thanks for that, Kevin. Can I get a proposer to approve the action plan and for members to allow officers to accept the action plan? Rory, you want to speak on it?
Just very briefly, I know we've had this discussion before, and we see the point of the labour market partnership. It's about making people more employable, giving them new skills, getting them into employment, which in turn is going to reduce unemployment levels, reduce economic inactivity, and hopefully reduce sort of poverty and deprivation levels across the city and district. But I've got a question about the operational budget for the coming year, which we are unclear on at the minute. So the expected budget is 586 grand. We have a feeling it's going to be cut to 430,000. I've had a look at the action plan. Is the action plan based on the operational budget of 586,000? Or is it based on the operational budget of potentially 430? Because there's no real figures attached to how much everything's going to cost. So if, for example, DFC surprised us and said you're going to get 586,000, is it going to be scalable? Can we do more, or is that action plan set in stone? But happy to propose the item.
So yeah, we can, and it's so basically everything that happens within the labour market partnership is tendered out. So it'll, the amount of academies, the amount of participants, everything when you tender for it, it's a price per participant. So it'll be more around our ability to do X amount of participants per academy or per intervention than Y. So yes, it is. And so we'll cut our cloth absolutely accordingly. And one of the things I would say about the labour market partnership, having now with the board set up and attending the meetings and the stakeholders around the table, so you've got people from the Jobs and Benefits Office, you've got people from EA, you've got people from the schools sector, you've got the Northwest Regional College at the table, people really at the coalface. One of the brilliant things about that partnership that I've seen to date is that whilst they're discussing the action plan and doing the nitty gritty of that and working on the budget, the people around the table have identified gaps then and they're able to deliver. And actually there's been lots of discussions around, well, if we're delivering that, then it shouldn't go into the action plan. So it's actually been about, really, I have to commend the actual policy and the process, because it's allowing all of the stakeholders to really have a proper and defined conversation around what's available within this area, because it is can be quite a crowded and confused place. So already there's been positive things that have happened, and creative ways to actually deliver on real interventions for this cohort of people. So there's absolutely the ability to meet the best case budget or to cut our cloth to a potential reduced budget, as what happened last year.
Before I look for a proposer again, I mean, what I'll say is this is additional money. That's not going to cost council. There's huge cuts being brought through the Department for Economy to the FE sector. So I'm very supportive of any additional. I don't want to call it free money. There's nothing for no such thing as free. But what Kevin's outlined there, it meeting the gaps and having people around the table saying that's what we should be. You know, we should be in this space for as long as someone's going to fully fund it. So again, I'm looking for a proposer. And they allow officers to take a seconder. Rory's proposing it. Any seconder? Councillor Henney. Thank you, Kevin. Moving on, item 12.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to provide you with an update on the key skills programme development within the Alley Theatre and to give you an update and seek your approval to proceed with a couple of procurement exercises to support the operation of the Alley and the Guildhall. I will try and summarise this report as best I can, but just primarily there are two members. You'll be aware that we the Alley Arts was home to Cafe Horizon, who took the decision not to come back after the first lockdown to the Alley Theatre. And we previously sought your permission to issue the invitation to tender for the cafe franchise, which was done. And while there was significant interest in social media, there was no response to that. Anecdotal evidence suggests that the current economic climate was a primary constraint upon prospective suppliers. So, members, the purpose of this report is it's our proposal that we would reissue that in spring and design that process in line with the Guildhall and do some additional work in the background to ensure, to update people and ensure that there will be a response to that. So it's just updating you on the outcome of that first process and to seek your approval to move forward with the next one. You'll also be aware that members that both the Alley and the Guildhall incorporate bar operations as part of their service. And in order to secure best value for money, it's proposed that both venues collaborate on a joint procurement exercise regarding the respective bar stock provision. And this is just a proposal that we would issue that a joint tender exercise. And members, in addition to that, it's also an update on a piece of work in the Alley that we're doing in conjunction with the North West Regional College to support skills development, particularly in the arts sector in Strabane. Those discussions have led to the development of a pilot initiative which is starting in the Alley this month, which sees 2 OCN level 1s delivered in the Alley on a Tuesday evening in conjunction with the North West Regional College, and the details are set out in the report. So members, you're just asked to note the intention to reinitiate the selection process for cafe franchise in the Alley and to approve the initiation of a joint procurement exercise for bar and stock within both the Alley and Guildhall, and to note the skills pilot within the Alley commencing this month.
Okay, members, can I have a proposer? Jason Barrett here, not much to add. So happy to propose a paper. Can I have Councillor Barr, is that on this item?
Yep, it is, Chair. Just happy to propose it. Not much to add.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Farrell. Thank you, Aideen. Next item.
Next item, members, is to seek your approval to extend the service level agreement with the Millennium Forum for a further 5 years from the current year, with and to note a 15% reduction in the budget allocation for the coming year, with consideration for the likely impact on service. Members, I won't go into through these. There's 3 service level agreement reports here to extend them. I won't go into details, but you will be aware, members, from the presentation, the annual presentation that Millennium Forum Chief Executive and Board Chair would have made to you last month. It sets out clearly in the report the financial implications of the what was the service level agreement and the current and the likely cut, which equates to about £66,500 of 15%. The draft service level agreement is attached in the report. The management of the Millennium Forum have highlighted the significant increase in costs and the implications that the reduction in Council's financial contribution will have. It is likely that they will need to increase the price of tickets. and it will have a direct impact on audiences, as well as increasing the cost of hiring the venue facilities. But as I say, you are aware of a lot of that detail from last month's report. And members, the purpose of this report is you're asked to note its contents and approve the extension of the current service level agreement for a further 5 years, subject to annual confirmation of budget and outputs, and also to note the decision of Council to implement a 15% reduction to the Millennium Forum service level agreement operational cost budget, equating to a saving of 66,500, and consider the implications of this reduction on the organisation, its users, groups and audiences. And happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Aileen. Councillor Heaney.
Proposed, Chair.
Second by Councillor Farrell. Okay. Thank you, Aileen. Next item.
I just record. I'm a member of the Millennium Forum Board. Thank you.
Record it. So next item, item 13.
Yes, so thank you, Chair. Members. This report is to update you on the ongoing work for the Carnival Initiative and to seek your approval to extend the service level agreement for a further 5 years. Yeah, happy to do that. You're well aware of the detail in that.
Item 14. Seconder, Councillor Heaney, and proposed by Councillor Farrell. Item 15.
So proposed.
Yeah, so happy to note. Thank you.
Item 16.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to seek your approval for a new room hire schedule for Harbour House in the Council Chamber, alongside a revised booking procedure for same. So, members, you will be aware of the decision taken as part of the cost-saving measures to release the party rooms in Harbour House for hire. These, and you'll be aware that, and to bring them in as part of the overall suite of facilities that the Museum and Visitor Services offer, including the main hall, Whitaker Suite, Green Room. And this is to primarily to enable us to generate additional income from the hire of the Harbour House rooms, and to free up some of them, I suppose, more financially beneficial rooms in this building for council members. The rooms will still be available for members on council business with no charge. The booking procedure is set out in the report. It's proposed new arrangements will be in place from the 1st of April. This report also brings in the council chamber and makes it available to hire. Again, that's on an exceptional basis, but it's just to allow that to go forward. And I don't think there's anything, unless anybody has any particular questions on that. I think most members have been emailed with the details of their own individual and party arrangements for the new procedures in Harbour House, and I'll be sending out additional information directly to members in the next couple of weeks. But you're asked to note the content of this report and to approve the new arrangements for Museum and Visitor Services facilities as outlined.
Councillor Heaney.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. No, I think this is a positive development and I'm happy to propose it. I don't think we've been using council facilities as well as we could have. I know parties do have rooms across the way here, but how often do they be in them or need to be in them in terms of council business? So I think this is a sensible move and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aileen, for the report. And like Councillor Heaney, I agree that, if we can derive an income from any of the rooms in any of the buildings that we own, that's going to have a positive impact on the rates. So we're happy to support that proposal. Thank you.
That's your proposer and seconder then. Item 16, City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the 22nd City of Derry Jazz and Big Band Festival due to take place from Thursday 27th of April to Monday the 1st of May. So just to note for those who've been in your diary that the 1st of May is the bank holiday, so Jazz Festival actually falls in the last weekend in April. You'll be aware that the importance of the Jazz Festival to the City and District's calendar. 2022 marked the 21st edition of the festival, and it was estimated over 70,000 people enjoyed the festival last year, with record occupancy high on the Saturday night of 99.11%. The event has seen significant growth over the last number of years with jazz hubs, educational workshops. It's attracted huge, international artists over the years. It's a combination of local showcase and internationally acclaimed artists that made the festival the success that it has been. Venues, as you know, are appreciative and supportive of the measures adopted by Council to ensure the development and improvement of the festival, and it's recommended that officers explore opportunities with this part to continue to grow the event. It's in 2023, it's proposed this include attracting and supporting new talent, with the programme ensuring performance are in suitable venues and at relevant times, and continue with the pure jazz element. Members, the success of the festival, as you know, can be attributed to the significant support provided by Council and the financial contribution made by many local venues, clubs and pubs in the entertainment and hospitality sector. For the 2023 event, given the ongoing financial pressures in the hospitality sectors, it's proposed that we maintain the yearly Tier 2 subvention rate at 80-20. So that's 80% for the venues and 20% contribution from Council. In August 22, officers held an open meeting with representatives from all venues and some new venues wishing to take part in the 2023 festival to gain their views on how they wish to take the event forward. Officers then placed an expression of interest call in September 23 to all venues. And they've been working also with the Millennium Forum to secure a headline act for this year's festival, and hope to make an imminent announcement. Arrangements to facilitate this will necessitate a single tender action to the value of no more than $7,500 from the overall budget, which will follow the policy and procedures of Council and be recorded in the Register of Decisions. Officers have been working on increasing festival sponsorship, particularly with the existing sponsor, Diageo, and have secured a 25% increase in sponsorship fee for this year's festival, and are also developing a 5-year plan which will be reviewed yearly and aims to increase the contribution year on year. Members, the details there of the educational programme, the Jazz Hub, Alfresco Jazz, the music workshop, dance classes, the local legends jazz events are set out, and then the marketing plan set out there with a budget of £25,000. All marketing activity run with the tagline of Ireland's biggest jazz festival. And members, you're asked to notice proposed, as I said, to freeze the subvention. As you know, we had been moving to further reduce that, but it's recommended that that is frozen for another year at 80-20. Officers will continue to seek the best value rates options for accommodation. Hotels, accommodation providers work with officers regarding availability for rooms. Following the cost-saving measures implemented as part of the rates process, officers are working with a revised event budget of $108,000. In previous years, it would have been 120, and this reduction will see a reduction in the number of larger bands booked to reduce on programming, accommodation and travel costs, and a reduction in the marketing budget of £5,000, which will mean a reduction on the regional media booking, which may result in a reduction of visitors from outside the area. Members, you're asked to note the contents of the report and approve the programming and financial arrangements as set out.
Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aideen, for the report. So happy to propose it. It's a key event in our cultural calendar. It's a weekend every year that I personally always look forward to. So, the whole city comes alive. So good news about the increased sponsorship, that we've managed to sort of get some more money out of Diageo, and I hope that continues and that grows on an annual basis. And again, the subvention that we provide for Tier 2 venues, we're happy with that. We don't think it's right in this economic climate that we put more pressure on local businesses. So happy with the the paper and happy to propose it. Thank you.
Councillor Lowe.
Chair, thanks, Aidan, for this report, and just to reiterate what has already been said regarding the increasing the 25% of sponsorship, that there has to be welcomed. But I do think, that if a lever for sponsorship, as we have it there, that if it's double the size of Cork, is that what am I reading it right? The audience figures to be almost half, showed that the Cork's audience figures were half of the City of Derry's Jazz Festival audience figures. So, if we have that in black and white, surely that should be a lever for sponsorship, given that the Cork Jazz Festival is heavily sponsored. I do think that that's a good tool to have in your armour to encourage more sponsorship. Thank you.
So the sponsorship's up 25%. What is the exact figure for that? Now, is it 15 to 20 or what is it? So we don't know what the sponsorship is then, no?
Happy to share that with members directly.
Okay, sorry, that's right, we're not in confidence. Okay. And you see when you say we're 70,000 visitors, is that our estimate or is it verified by who?
That's our estimate. So it's based on a number of factors, but primarily it's based on data that we collect from the venues. And we use obviously our own sources, such as the footfall counters and that, but it's primarily from data directly from the venues.
Thank you. And do we know how much Cork gets in sponsorship? Someone told me it's €1 million. Maybe that's wrong or something.
As far as we're aware, yeah, they get something, a significant sponsorship, yeah. Just to note, officers were involved in intensive discussions with Diageo locally, who were adamant that the offer that they made to us was all that they were going to offer. They have a different structure to the Diageo on the rest of the island, and they were very clear that that was the extent of their sponsorship. So, and I think we had hoped to have a discussion with members directly in the members working group, and we're happy to pick that up again directly, so they're aware, members should be aware directly of the background to some of those discussions.
Okay, so we have a proposer. Do we have a seconder? Second, Councillor Lowe. Okay. Next item.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on some plans for council events for the coming year and to seek your approval for the budget expenditure for same and to outline the likely impact as a result of budget cuts, particularly across events and associated marketing budgets. I'll try and just go through some of the key things in this. So you'll be aware, members, that we have a wide programme of events across the year, of annual events. We have 2 events of international scale. They are Halloween in the city and the Foyle Maritime Festival. The Foyle Maritime Festival is next due to take place in summer of 2024 and is the subject of a separate report. Halloween, as you know, is in the city is our big event. And it encompasses the Awakening the Walled City. 21 and 22 saw the event expand even further across to St Colum's Park, but after feedback from the 2022 event and with ever-increasing core cost, it's recommended that the 2023 event concentrate its efforts back in the city centre, ensuring that many of the streets in the commercial centre are utilised and roads in and around the Walled City are animated. It's proposed the Awakening the Walled City will run from the 28th to the 30th of October 2023, with the main fireworks parade and fireworks display taking place obviously on October 31st in its traditional format and times. There's lots of other events planned. Members are also, officers are also working on the Strabane Halloween plans and reached out to the Castledare community to explore how improvements can be made to their plans in 2023. A further detailed report will be brought to this committee in September on Halloween. The wider events are listed there. The Angling Fair, which is the subject of a report to last month. City of Derry, we've just covered. Waterside Half Marathon is on Sunday, September the 23rd. And members, you'll be aware as part of the cost-saving exercise that you took the decision to alternate the half marathons going forward, with the Strabane Lifford being planned for 2024 and the Waterside for 23. During the rates discussions, members raised a concern that the implementation of this new policy might be too short notice for aspiring runners who may have already begun to train. However, to not follow through on this decision would have required a rescinding a motion of council. Possible compromise is to run the Strabane half marathon on the 11th of June using savings identified in conjunction with finance. This would mean, as a one-off, there would still be 2 half marathons in the coming financial year. The decision to alternate these events would then begin in 24-25, with 1 half marathon per year, being 2024 the Strabane Lifford half marathon taking place on the 12th of May 2024, and the Waterside half marathon the following year in September 25, and would follow this sequence thereafter. Members, you should note that the Waterside half marathon will host its 40th edition in 2023. Officers are reviewing the route to possibly include the new Greenway at Strathfoyle, and are also exploring ways in which the 40-year history of the race is celebrated. You'll note Summer Jam there's the 17th of June. Christmas switch-on events in City and Strabane in November. Representatives from the retail sector have asked that the Sunday switch-on move to a Friday evening in November, and members, you're asked to endorse this approach, subject to officers conducting a wider consultation with local stakeholders. Strabane switch-on would remain on a Saturday. It's proposed the format for this event would see the return of the Magical Christmas Parade to both the city and town streets, following the great success of that in 21 and 22. Christmas Craft Fair will also take place in the Guildhall in November. There'll be a further detailed report on this in the autumn. One World Festival in 23rd of September. St Patrick's Spring Carnival in 2024, and members should note, with cuts to the St Patrick's Day budget planned as part of the cost-saving exercise, officers propose to maintain the focus on the parade to ensure this is the primary activity that takes place, with possible fringe events being reduced due to the budget pressures. There's a number of Mayor's Programme events, which includes Supercar on the 13th, the Bear Run on the Shipquay Street on Saturday the 29th that officers are supporting with, and the World GAA Games are planned for July of this year. Officers are currently working with the overall programme budget for all the events of 802,000 and allocation of 90,000. This includes budget for the 2 international events. This is a reduction on previous years. Officers are confident that they can still deliver an event with significant benefits. However, members should note that there will be a reduction in paid media campaign activity, which will reduce marketing reach and audience numbers. There will be an impact too on some programme areas such as market provision and trading opportunities, with budget being reduced in these programmes from other sections. Applications are made to TNI for funding for Halloween and Jazz to enhance this, and a sponsorship plan, as we've discussed, has been implemented. As with other sector events, all areas are expected to see an increase in cost between 10 and 20%. Significant pressures. Members, there are a number of annual tenders that have been publicly advertised in January, February and March of this year. They'll be assessed in line with Council's procurement policy. They're set out in the report. They'll follow Council's procedures, and you are asked to approve those, subject to all the processes of the council being followed. Officers may need to appoint, through single tender action, some specialist installations to enhance this year's programme, and other smaller items be procured by way of quotation request. The programme outlined is in line with the rates allocation for festival events and marketing for the coming financial year. You're asked to note the contents of the report and approve the financial and procurement arrangements set out, and to approve in advance the appointment of suppliers for the annual event tenders for the period as outlined. These will be subject to further reports to this committee and recorded in this for information and recorded in the register of decisions. And members, you're asked to consider authorising the organisation of the Strabane Half Marathon on the 11th of June as a one-off for 2023-24 in conjunction with the Waterside Half Marathon in September, then reverting to the one race per year from 24-25.
Okay, anyone want to speak on that, or have a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aideen, for the report. The one thing that I've read on here that I'm not over the moon with is about Halloween, where it says that, based on feedback from 2022, that we're going to focus the attention on the city centre. And it's not that long ago that we had Jim Collins from the Northwest Carnival Initiative in here, and we were praising him for the work he did in previous Halloweens, specifically around St Colum's Park. I, in particular, loved it the first year it was introduced. So whilst I agree with the paper in general, I do have concerns about us saying now that there's going to be no activity in the Waterside, either at Ebrington or St Colum's Park. And I know the paper doesn't necessarily say that. The language could be sort of looked at in various ways, but the way it reads to me is that it's all going to be city centre or city side, and I don't necessarily think that's the best thing to do. And I understand the budget pressures, I understand, increased programming costs and all that, and we have to work within, the funding envelope that we have. But I would be reluctant to say straight away here today that we have no activity in the Waterside. So what's your view on that, Aideen?
So I suppose this is really this is not saying there's no activity in the Waterside. This is saying that we had a full zone, if you remember, in St Colum's Park. So it was an extension of the Walled City, the Awakening the Walled City activity that we have. So we're proposing for those 3 or 4 nights of big scale animation that we don't do St Colum's Park. That's not to say there will be no activity, particularly in and around Ebrington, but using St Colum's Park as a full zone we're proposing that we go back to focus on the Awakening the Walled City. There is, particularly with the budget pressures that we're under, it is, and I suppose it's not solely budget, it's really where we'll get the biggest impact. I think it's focusing our resources on the Walled City, and the streets in and around the Walled City is a better use of our resources to create a more impactful event. It probably stretches us too thin, and stretches the resource too thin to cover with impact fully into St Colum's Park. But that is not to say there is no activity on the Waterside. I don't think, and we've never had that before, even prior to 2021 when we extended across to St Colum's Park. It was very opportune, and we were able to do it. We were probably able to do it primarily because of the COVID restrictions that we were under. But when we move out of that, when we've looked at it and looked at the planning and the resource and everything else, and a lot of this was done in conjunction with the Carnival Initiative, who, as you know, led on a lot of the activity over there. The general feeling is that we will be able to create a more impactful event if we focus our efforts on the Walled City, which is what we've been doing. That's for those core nights of big animation. But we definitely will have activity. I mean, we always have, and we'll be having those discussions with the executive office and everything else. So it's just, this is primarily, I suppose, this is just really setting this down in terms of this as a principle, but that does not equate to no activity in the Waterside. And we will certainly be bringing back a full report to members in the autumn with full detail of the Halloween event, as we always do.
Thank you.
I'm glad it's not set in stone. That's what I'm taking from your response, because the festival, it's Halloween, and St. Collins Park just lends itself to it. It's got that sort of spooky atmosphere, the big tall trees. It's just perfect for Halloween. And I think it's an excellent resource that it would be an absolute shame if we didn't use it to its full potential.
Sorry, I don't want to speak for Aidan, but I think what Aidan's saying is that it's not just going to be as much programme on there. I know last year the focus was it took thousands of people across to St. Collins Park and out and to the what do you call it, the arcade or whatever you want to call it. This shows you Menagony. But the biggest criticism, and it's not a criticism, what most people said to me they missed most last year was the working on the wall. So with the reduced budget and with trying to get the best bang for the buck, I would agree with you, but I don't think Aidan's saying we're not going to do anything in St. Collins Park, like some spooky stuff, as you called it. I think it's just trying to bring it back to the roots of what the festival was. And we heard, was it Jim here today? Said, hope you awake on the walls again. So I think he knows what he's talking about. But I actually agree. I think it's better. We've got a reduced budget. But I'm still looking for a proposal. But if Morris Dickman and Sean Harkin first, and then Councillor Logue.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. And look, reading the report, look, I welcome it and the good work it has been done, but I do have concerns and around the message going out that there is no events or less events happening in the waterside. And I think, Aidan, you have covered that would be wrong to say there will be no events. But look, happy enough with the report coming forward, but I would have another thought and around what could happen and around the waterside, because you wouldn't want that message going out that there is nothing happening on the waterside. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Harkin.
Thanks, Chair. Look, just quickly in this, because I assume that we're going to have another discussion about it, but yeah, I don't think that we should have, and I think you've clarified it, Aidan, by saying there will be events on the waterside. It's about, will there be a Halloween festival like it was organised last year? And I did the walk through St. Collins Park, through Ebrington, right over to the city centre. And it was a long walk with a couple of children, to be quite honest, in the dark. And while I think there was good things about it, look, personally, and talking to lots of other people favour the walk around the walls and everything that was brilliant about that. And I know there's things we have to look at there in terms of the numbers and everything else. But that for me, and I think for a lot of people, including visitors, was one of the best things and one of the most attractive things about the Halloween festival here in Derry. And I know that, there's a discussion as well among artists and people in the creative sector here about how to make the best use of their talents and to involve them as much as possible in shaping it. So I think that this is useful, but hopefully there'll be more engagement and discussions going forward. Thanks.
Councillor Logue.
I just want to say, look, I do think that would be a good thing to have the main event back on the walls again. I do think it would be good for the city centre, because when you're taking something, the main event over to a park, there's no real economic benefit for the traders, etc. And I think there would be more on offer for people within the city centre. That's not to say there shouldn't be anything there, and that's not what we're hearing, but I do think it would make more sense to revert back to what we were.
So I see no more speakers. Proposed? Second? Proposal? Patricia? Second? Councillor Heney? Okay. Next item. Foyle Maritime.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the evaluation of the Foyle Maritime Festival 2022, which featured the Clipper 1920 round the world yacht race that had been postponed due to the pandemic from summer 2020, and to update you on the plans for the Foyle Maritime Festival 2024 and to seek approval for the budget expenditure and for the upcoming events and to outline the likely impacts as a result of budget cuts across festival events and marketing. This report also seeks permission for officers to engage with Clipper Ventures regarding the viability of the city hosting the Clipper 23-24 race as part of its biannual Foyle Maritime Festival celebrations in summer 24. Members, you'll be aware that 2022 was the 5th consecutive time that the Foyle Maritime Festival hosted Clipper Around the World Yacht Race. The international exposure for the city and district for the race is significant. And the award-winning event was highly anticipated locally, regionally, nationally and internationally. As you know, the Foyle Maritime Festival takes place every 2 years. In 2022, the festival ran for 5 consecutive days in July, preceded by the legendary Street Food Festival on the previous weekend. The festival, as you know, is located across all along the riverfront. The theme for last year was What Lies Beneath, and Council worked with artists, musicians, theatrical groups, arts organisations, community groups and its own museum and heritage team to deliver a range of interpretations right across right along the river's edge. Similarly, Council worked with its festival partners, the Locks Agency and Foyle Port, to ensure an exciting and diverse range of water activities was on offer for visitors. We had a big theme of See Change, Be the Change, and we worked very closely with our colleagues in the Environment and Regeneration section who sourced support from the Department for Communities to introduce a very strong sustainability theme and initiatives throughout the festival this year, many of which are set out in the report. Some of the highlights of the festival, which were sourced from a variety of monitoring sources, are all set out in the report, but include 175,000 attendees, almost half from outside the city and district. On average, I won't go through all of these, but on average, attendees spent $121.47 per person, excluding accommodation. 49% of the average was spent on food and drink. The overall Foyle Maritime Festival generated potential audience reach of just over 177 million, with an advertising value equivalent of 3.2 million. With very strong social marketing and media campaign. The full details of the report there's a full appendix from the YouGov report that was commissioned with our support by Clipper Ventures, so they're set out in the report. But Clipper Ventures are currently in discussions with officers regarding the financial viability of the race returning as part of the 2024 festival portfolio. Council currently has no partnership agreement with Clipper Ventures. Following the cost-saving measures implemented as part of the race process and the impact on the overall event and marketing budgets, together with rising costs across all sectors. While the overall programming of the festival can still be done, it will be difficult to maintain the rights fee previously paid to Clipper Ventures and maintain a festival programme with the same impact. Aside from the overall rights fee that was paid to Clipper Ventures, a range of costs were also incurred by Council and Foyle Port to ensure a safe and successful race stopover. The requirements of the festival infrastructure are aligned so closely to those of the stopover that the festival budget can adequately cover the setup and practicalities of hosting the race. Officers anticipate that this would remain the case should any future Clipper race stopovers occur as part of the Foyle Maritime Festival. If members are content, it's proposed to continue with the negotiations with Clipper Ventures on this basis, that is, with no rights fee. It's expected that any negotiations would conclude by the end of April, when the race needs to confirm its stopover schedule. Officers are asking for members' endorsement to conclude this agreement at this time on the basis set out in the report, and will report back to you for information in the new council term. Members, it's important to note if the festival proceeds in 2024 without the inclusion of Clipper Ventures or another international element, it's probable that Tourism Northern Ireland will no longer categorise the festival as an international event. And if the event loses its international status, it will no longer be eligible to apply for the TNI International Events Programme. And to note that the 2022 event received £110,000 through this. the event would still be eligible to apply for Tourism NI's sponsorship scheme, but that can award only a maximum of 30,000 to any event. Members should also note that if no rights fee is paid, the race may not stay for the same duration, or it may not be possible to schedule the race start on a Sunday or weekend day. Members, you've agreed £500,000 through rates for the major events budget. Across 2 financial years, that's 250 per year. It is proposed that 400,000 of this is used to fund the Foyle Maritime Festival for 2024, and the other 100,000 is recommended is used to ensure that the Halloween event maintains an international level of investment, as we've done in previous years. This would be allocated across 2 consecutive events. Officers are confident they can deliver an event that will be on a par with those previously organised, albeit that the delivery of the event relies on key stakeholder support in kind, partnership funding, private sector sponsorship and revenue generated by the actual event. The budget for the marketing element will, however, see a reduction from 80 to 30,000, and members should note that that reduction, there will be impacts that will see reduction on paid media campaign, which will reduce marketing reach and likely audience numbers. There will be impacts too on some programme areas such as market provision and trading opportunities, with budgets being reduced in these programmes in these areas from other sections. Every effort will be made to try and source other external funder, and a sponsorship plan has also been implemented that will see officers in the marketing and events team targeting key organisations across a wide range of events, not just Foyle Maritime Festival. And again, costs are increasing. The following tenders, members, will be issued over the next few months in order to prepare for this event. They're listed in the report. They will follow all of the procedures of council, and members are asked to approve those. You're asked to approve those to meet the deadline that we need to meet. And to pre-approve and to allow us to approve the selected organisation subject to the processes, and should a suitable agreement be agreed with Clipper Ventures, again there may be a requirement to appoint things through single tender action, and other smaller items will be procured by way of quotation request. So members are asked to note the content of the report and approve the financial and procurement arrangements as outlined, and you're asked to approve in advance the appointment of suppliers for the tenders as outlined, in order to ensure that suppliers are approved to meet with the incoming events year's requirement. We'll record in the register decision and update this committee in due course. You're asked members to enable officers to continue to negotiate with Clipper Ventures regarding the viability of the city hosting the Clipper 23-24 race as part of its biannual Foyle Maritime Festival celebration in summer 2024, and that if agreement is reached within the budget and terms outlined above, that announcements can be made in relation to this.
Thank you, Aileen, for that. Anyone want to speak on that, or do we have a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aileen, again. I don't think I need to sort of state the obvious about how fantastic the Foyle Maritime Festival is, when we have it on the banks of the Foyle. But I've got a question about, are we realistically going to have a Foyle Maritime Festival if Clipper potentially mightn't be here? So I just I know negotiations are ongoing. I know that we're not, the 250k that we paid previously isn't on the table, and that might prove to be a stumbling block with Clipper Ventures. So if it comes to pass that Derry isn't a port, Clipper doesn't come, are we still going to proceed with some form of Foyle Maritime Festival?
I think that would be our intention, yes. And I suppose that's what we would be asking. We would, if we weren't going to do that, we would probably bring back a specific report probably in the summer to outline that. But I think it would be our intention to propose that we would go ahead with a Foyle Maritime Festival. Yeah, and I think that's always been our view, that we would propose that's what we would do. There is an awful lot of animation, an awful lot of the activity that happens, irrespective of the Clipper race, and I think officers have been mindful of that over the last number of years. That it may come to a time where the Clipper race for all sorts of reasons might not be here. So I think, but I think if that comes to pass, we would be looking to bring back a specific report and specific proposals. But that would be our thinking, that we would proceed with the Foyle Maritime Festival.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone propose? Councillor Heaney propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lowe, okay. Thank you, Aidan, for that. And I suppose if we don't get Clipper, we'll still have a Maritime Festival. That's the good news that Rory wanted to hear. Next item.
So thank you, Chair members. This report is to seek your approval to enter into licences that may be required with various organisations for listed required to facilitate the setup and operations of Council's events programme. Members, our full programme of events is set out in the report, and you will be aware that the ownership for area use for these events are made up of a number of statutory and private landowners. And to facilitate festival events programmes, it's necessary often to enter into temporary agreements or easements with landowners to facilitate delivery of programmes. The licences, and you'll be aware of the
proposed. Seconder, can I have a seconder for that? Sorry, he cut on there very rudely, but he believes everything. He's read the document. Have I a seconder? Councillor Lowe. Thank you, Rory. Sorry, Aidan. Next item. Sorry, he took your flow there. You were in mid-sentence there.
No, that's no problem.
Well, 10 minutes earlier now. Next item, item 20.
Item 20, it's me again. Members, this is to seek your approval and endorsement to extend Council provision of marketing services for the Go For It programme for a period of 6 months and to proceed with arrangements for delivering marketing service on behalf of the 11 councils for the new UK Shared Prosperity Fund Entrepreneurship Support Service ESS programme. Members, you will be well aware of our previous reports to this extending Council's involvement in the Go For It programme. This is specifically to seek your approval to continue to deliver a marketing service in line with the extension that you've already approved. The discussions are members. You'll also be aware of the report seeking your endorsement to proceed with specific discussions to deliver the ESS programme. And again, this is also to seek your approval to extend enter into discussions to continue delivering the marketing requirements for the ESS programme. Council have been asked to lead on the delivery of the marketing service for all 11 councils in ESS programme, and we are working on a proposal to be fully agreed, but specifically we've been asked to lead on the procurement arrangements for the marketing requirements in the new programme. Lisburn and Castlereagh have procured the services on behalf of the 11 councils for the current Go For It programme, which it's proposed to extend for 6 months. The budget will be extended in line with that, and it's subject obviously to your parallel reports that Kevin brings you. For the new ESS programme, as Derry Strabane Council have been asked to lead on the marketing requirements and the procurement of the services required to deliver same, officers are seeking your endorsement specifically to proceed with the procurement process to appoint the necessary suppliers. This will be done via e-tenders in the coming weeks and will follow the policy and procedures of this council, be recorded and registered decisions and reported back to this council, this committee and other councils for information. The cost of participating in the extension was approved by this committee in September, and there are no further cost implications for council. The cost involved in the new programme will be met by all partner councils, with this council's contribution is subject to separate parallel reports to this committee. Members, you're asked to agree in principle to extend the provision of marketing services by council team on behalf of the 11 councils for the Go For It programme and proceed with the procurement arrangements for the ESS programme as outlined in the report.
Thank you. Do I have a proposer? Seconder? Proposed by Rory?
I'll propose it. I didn't want to do two so proposed in a row, you know, but I wanted to.
And Conor Haney seconded. So next item, we're getting through this rightly, folks. Could be a warm dinner than I did. Next one is cultural grant aid results.
Cultural grant aid results, thank you. So members, you will be, I'll try and summarise the key points in this. This is obviously to approve the cultural organisations, which, as you know, is a rollover. So there's actually not much approval in cultural organisations, just to note the continuation of that for one more year. Heritage animation. Access programme for cultural organisations, headline events, community festivals, and the Artist and Cultural Practitioner Award for the coming year. So the Heritage Animation Visitor Servicing, the fund there, you'll see it set out. There's a 13,000 that's allocated to heritage venues through the Cultural Organisations Fund annually. We received this year a total of 10 applications, all of which were eligible to apply. This is an increase on the 6 applications received last year. The increased number of applications is welcomed, but it means the budget must be spread across those who are eligible and meet the criteria. Therefore, following the assessment process, the budget has been allocated across 9 of the 10 applications. So it's prorated, so just that's a slight difference from previous years, and it may impact some venues. So we're proposing, members, that the decision to pro-rata that. One failed to meet the 50% threshold, which has been pre-approved. In order to address increased level of interest and available, so just to note that decision, the total value of eligible applications to the capital-based access programme was 27,700 from one venue who'd completed their independent access audit. That's set out, and the report, as you know, we apply for additional money from Department for Communities, and that programme will open again for all applicants. So it's expected there'll be significant demand for that in the coming year as well, but you're asked to approve that. As regards headline events, the fund there, the total budget available is 387,500. This with 13 eligible arts and culture events and 1 eligible sporting event. There were a total of 15 applications, 1 of which failed to reach the threshold. With existing budgets of 205,000 of the 14 remaining applicants, 9 would receive funding, with 1 of these only partly. Full summary is set out in the appendices. Members, you should note the previous years there was an allocation of 30,000 ring fence for sporting events, and it's proposed to continue this in line with the pro-rated, in line with the rest of the fund. You'll note, members, to date we've had no applications for the National Events Fund, which is an allocation of £35,000 for a one-off event. And as part of the conditions of that fund, organisers must contact us at least a year in advance. So in the absence of any applications between now and the 31st of March, it's proposed that that budget be redistributed to the headline events that would see another 2 events receive funding. For community festivals, the total budget is there. There were 17 applicants to the upper fund, with 3 not meeting the threshold mark, and 13 applicants to the lower fund, with 4 not meeting the threshold. Officers recommend that in order to ensure wider spread, that members agree to award funding on a pro-rata basis, which will enable more applicants to get some funding. We would have done that similar to arrangement to previous years. With the existing budget of 92,400, that would mean 9 applicants in the lower amount get awarded and 7 would receive funding in the upper. Again, summary are set out in the report. As you know, Department for Communities give us money towards this fund, which in previous years had been around £30,000. So if this happens, we'll see a further 3 events being funded. You should note that there are a number of events that have not met the threshold, but with the existing budget remain unfunded. There are 3 events in the headline, and there are up to 5 in the community festival. So members, if additional cost savings can be found, or there are any withdrawals from the process, officer to recommend that this funding be allocated to those remaining funds. Members, you'd agreed in 2023 that in order to ensure the distribution of funding for Christmas events was equitable, that grant aid budget of 15,000 that had previously gone to neighbourhood renewal groups and 3,000 previously allocated to specific areas in the former Strabane Council would become an open competition via the Community Festival Fund. Events were asked to indicate if they were applying, as you know, for Christmas funding. Only 5 applications were received, 2 of which were deemed ineligible. 3 of the events are to be awarded funding. And although members, you'd asked for 1 from each DAA to be prioritised, this didn't end up being necessary. With the eligible applicants awarded, there's still a surplus of 7,180, and officers are recommending that this surplus is redistributed within the Community Festival Fund that would see a further 3 eligible events receive funding in part. Members should also note that this award would receive the full amount asked for, as the maximum pot is small. And again, the results are set out. There were 48 eligible applicants to the Artists and Practitioner Fund, to a total value of 47,303, with an approved budget of £16,000. Based on this budget, there will be an award made to the top 14 applicants. And just to note there's 2 tied, but to make an award to these would exceed the current budget. So it's proposed that should additional budget of money be able to be drawn from savings or from member approved budgets, that those eligible artists who scored 76% and above also receive money. So basically we're asking you for permission to, if money can be found, to extend that fund, similar to the other funds. That is they're the main points, I think, to note. Other than that, you're asked to approve the award as set out in the report and to allow us to redistribute accordingly. And I am happy to take any questions. And as you know, members, we anonymise these. We did make 2 attempts to have a culture members working group, but I am happy after this to discuss with any members if they want to see the specifics. But as you know, you're asked in this report to approve the process and then to allow us to let the groups know directly the results.
All good stuff. Can I get a proposer or anybody any questions? So Farrell, propose.
I'm happy to propose it. It's nearly 700 grand worth of funding going out to local organisations, which is brilliant and well needed, because they put on fantastic shows and performances and enrich the lives of people right across the city and district. But it's difficult to sort of gauge this without knowing who the organisations are, and we come up against this every year. So it would be good if that information was sent to us, and I understand why it's not presented to us, because it needs to be done anonymously. But whenever we see who's been successful, who's been unsuccessful, we'll have a better picture. But happy to propose.
Thank you for that. The seconder? Councillor Lowe, come along.
Second, Chair, but just a wee question about the community, the Christmas, the neighbourhood renewal. There was only 5 applications and 2 were ineligible. That 15,000 previously, they would have got 3. There was 5 neighbourhood renewal boards, isn't that right? And each of them would have got 3,000. So obviously, can you just tell me, was it neighbourhood renewal partnerships that put on for this money that, there was 3 awarded, 2 ineligible? What was the...
So there was a mix. So we had 5 applications were received for Christmas. That would actually be 8. So there would have been 8 organisations would have received money out of what's gone into that pot. So 5 were from neighbourhood renewal areas and 3 were from specific. So some groups did not apply. There were 2 deemed ineligible because there wasn't enough information on the form for them to be eligible even to score. So there was only 3 eligible applications from that. And some groups, there were a couple of groups who just didn't apply who would have just got money anyway previously, who didn't apply again. So yeah, that's a combination of factors, I think.
And that issue that that this was going to be the case going forward was communicated to those groups, yeah.
Most definitely, yeah.
Okay, we're nearly there, folks. Item 22 now. We had a proposer and a seconder, the annual service plan.
I'm going to take this one to give Aidan a break because I think she's done more than enough in the last hour or so. And so you'll be glad to know I'm not going to read through the entire service plan. It was circulated late yesterday. Obviously, this year has been a challenge because of all the kind of budget constraints and the changes, and to make sure we had it right. So it's there for members' consideration. The report highlights some of the key issues, and highlights for the year, which as I say, I'm not going to read right through. If any members have any questions in relation to the service plan, as I appreciate it only went out yesterday and is quite a detailed document, so happy to take those between now and council meeting. So if there's any queries, questions, clarifications or anything you want added, change or anything doesn't quite read right, happy to take those, and either myself or Kevin or Aidan will answer those. And obviously if there's nothing, then we'll get the council meeting and the service plan would be approved as part of the minutes. But happy to take any questions now, obviously, but as I say, I'm conscious that it only went out in full yesterday, so thank you.
Yeah, a lot on the plan. You're right. We've only seen it, but shows a lot of work being done. Are you looking, Stephen, just for us to propose? Yeah. And second, that I'm happy to ask for a proposal.
Yeah, Chair, you could propose the paper and as it stands, because obviously that went out with the key details. But in terms of the actual service plan, I'm happy that if there's any, keep it open between now and the council meeting. So that's another 2 weeks. If there's any questions from members or any clarifications, we can obviously alter the document. But if not, then it'll just be approved as part of the minutes at the council meeting.
Perfect. So round to my usual suspects here for a proposer and a seconder. And if you find anything in the next couple of weeks, Stephen's quite happy. So proposed by Rory, seconded by Patricia. Thank you. That's the first part of the agenda done. Members will know that the rest items now are open for information. I'm going to take them two at a time. If anyone, I'll take them as a block if you want. Okay. Anyone wants to come on and I'll take them as a block. And if anyone has an issue with an item, please, I'll let Aidan in first.
Members, if I think it's item 28, the Harbour Square redevelopment project. If I could just ask members, if I can just give you an amendment to that for a recommendation. And then if I could ask you to propose it and second it. It's just, should a temporary licence be required to allow the works to commence from either department? Members, you're asked to approve in advance the signing of the licence on the following basis: that it's within the confines of the agreed area for the overall project, with no onerous terms and conditions, and at no more than a nominal cost to council.
Councillor Logue proposed and Councillor Farrell second.
I'm happy to second that, but I was going to have a question anyway about that item. We've been round the houses in this for a number of years, but there was one thing I picked up on it. At 3.3, it says, planning application for the public artwork was submitted in August 22 with a final decision expected in March 23 planning committee. So the March 23 planning committee has taken place and it wasn't on the agenda. So where are we with the actual planning application? Because unless it's approved, there's not going to be any movement with this. So could we get an update on that? Was there a particular reason it didn't come before the committee?
I don't know, but we will come back to you with an update. We haven't been informed that there have been any issues, but we'll come back to you. I think there's a couple of projects, but it's not due to an issue with the project as far as we're aware.
Okay, I have Councillor Donnelly on item 25.
Chair, look, from reading this report, It's it's clear that this is a loss in a number of ways. The contribution to the economy, the encouragement to small local businesses, and the promotion of local products. There's also the social aspect. Chair, in my opinion, the city centre is already a ghost town, and I think this is going to further damage it. Some of these traders have been there for 18 years, contributing to the economy. For them, the social aspect for them, very important. But not only that, Chair, there's a livelihood aspect for many of these people. And these people have contributed to the economy, and they've contributed to council finances. They've been there in the wind, rain, hail, snow, and limited sunshine. It's my understanding that they have only been contacted to be informed that the cessation of the market and no other correspondence. I think we owe these people more, Chair. We've already heard that regarding other cuts that this council is putting on people, that some of those that they will pass these cuts on. They're already struggling. Public, 60 grand saving here is it's minimal in the context. So, Chair, I want to put a proposal that and it's effectively that elected members and relevant council officers meet with the traders affected to discuss the implications of this decision. And if you give me a minute, Chair, I can put that in the chat box. Thank you.
Councillor Donnelly, I've just been told by maybe Stephen could better put it, but I'll ask Stephen to come on.
Yeah, just to be clear, Councillor Donnelly, because that's a decision of council as part of the rates process, my understanding is we require a rescinding motion. So therefore, you'd have to ring that the full council as the committee. We can't take that proposal, is my understanding. I'm happy to clarify with our legal representative, but that would require a rescinding motion because it's within 6 months of the original decision of council.
Chair, or through you, Chair. Look, what I'm asking is that we meet with the traders affected. I'm not looking, we had this out regarding the rates, and the vast majority of the councillors and aldermen here have already voted for this cut. What I'm asking is that we meet with the people affected, because it's going to affect them in numerous ways. And I think we owe them that. 18 years standing and contributing means nothing other than an email or a phone call to say it's finished. I think we owe them more than that, Chair.
Yeah, Councillor Donnelly, I know I've spoke to the Mayor this week, and I know that she had suggested meeting with, I think there's a lady that was mentioned in the media article to discuss that. So, and Stephen can come on this. I believe that council are also asking to meet them. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So we're in the process at the minute of collating all of the feedback from every single trader. We've basically completed that process now. We're trying to set up a meeting with either representatives or all of the traders, depending on who wants to meet with us, to talk through, obviously the decision, but also potential other options and that type of thing. But we just wanted to get all of the feedback on board before going back to them, and we will do that. We have responded to every query that we've received and let them know that we'll be back in contact later this week, and we've done that since we let them know originally. And the only reason we wanted to let them know was that in that fashion was that we just wanted to make them aware of the issue so that they could make alternative plans should they need to.
Councillor Harkin, do you want to come on? Sorry.
I just want to say that Councillor Donnelly had made a proposal, and it wasn't to rescind the decision. He made a proposal that we meet. I want a second proposal. I think the committee can agree to that. So nobody seems to have a problem with it. So if we can decide on that, and then look, I agree. I think that there will be more consequences of the decisions that the parties that push through the big rate hike and millions in service cuts will become will wash out, and more people will be impacted, and this is one of them. It's a small amount of money, but you know, for some people, not having the market's going to be a loss because of their ability to trade there, and also people who enjoyed going there. Whatever other issues there are with there are criticisms people might have of the market, it was there for a long time. So if we can finish this discussion about the Gary's proposal, and then I wanted to raise something in addition on this item. Thanks.
Happy, I think you've seconded Gary's proposal, so elected members and relevant council officers meet with traders affected. I'm happy to support that. I know the Mayor and Rory, so that's unanimous. Thank you, Councillor Donnelly. Does anyone else want to speak on that? Councillor Farrell, then Councillor Lowe.
Thanks, Chair, and I support Councillor Donnelly's proposal. I was going to make a similar proposal myself. Obviously, the outcome of the rates process is that the Walled City Market will not be funded, and Council will not continue to operate. But you know, there is a groundswell of support for the Walled City Market. I think it's right. I think it's proper that we engage with the traders there to listen to their concerns, but to also listen to see if they have any ideas how this can be delivered in a different form, in a different fashion. You know, we operated this for years. There could be an organisation or a person out there that can do it better than us. So we fully agree that we should engage with the traders. You know, this is not a closed door. You know, we're there to listen. We're there to support. So we're up for the discussion. So happy to support.
Thank you. And Councillor Lowe?
Oh, just to say, I agree. Look, we certainly support speaking to the traders and to try and get a way forward in this. But see, just before we meet with the traders, could we possibly have a wee just breakdown summary of the past number of years? Many traders fell off, came and whatever, and you know what council district they come from. If we could have a wee breakdown of that information, I think that would help the conversation too as well. Thank you.
Councillor Farrell for the 15th time, was it wrong?
Following on from what Patricia is requesting, and we support that, obviously, what would be useful, the costs associated with running the market are what, approximately 60k a year. It would be useful to get a detailed breakdown of that. My personal view is that there could be a large percentage that using security, and there mightn't be that need for it. I'm not sure, but it'd be nice to see how the costs are accrued to see if there's any opportunity to do it for a lot cheaper.
Just to finish that event, that is exactly why I spoke to the Mayor about this week when it went on social media, and we have to listen to the traders. But we would like to talk to them and see what their views are. And if there's a number of those traders and others want to get together and run a market, then we have to support that. It's just a 60,000 in this economic climate. I feel we should empower this group to maybe go and seek to do that themselves. So happy about the motion. Councillor Harkin, you wanted to speak on one of the other motions. Can I bring you in now?
Thank you, Chair. Well, it's related to this, but indirectly. Look, I've been contacted by the Society Street Indoor Market, and they do a street market in the city centre on March 25th. And they're asking if the council can help. It's a market that's free to traders. So they're just saying, like, you know, in terms of stalls, in terms can they get them for free if possible, or can they rent them? So I just wanted to propose that a council officer go and talk to them and see if there's a way that we as a council can assist that. And obviously it's coming up soon, so we would need to try to have that conversation soon.
Thank you. Anybody want to speak to that, Kevin?
Yeah, there's a cost. So that was that's the big cost in relation to the markets. It's the transport and the setup, takedown and storage of those stalls. But yeah, we don't, there is a cost and it's significant. So we've had those discussions over a period of time with Society Street Market and stuff in the past, but happy to chat to Duncan about that. No problem at all.
Okay. I don't see any of our speakers on this, so can we go on to confidential now for item 32 and 33?